Most frightening possible sight for a Blue Jay fan. Rickey Henderson arriving at the ballpark. He seems mild-mannered enough, arm in arm with Dave Stewart. But when he takes off those glasses and changes into that uniform in a clubhouse, not in a phone booth, then Rickey Henderson becomes, well, you know who. Okay, folks, go ahead and fill in the blanks. At times, he seemed faster than a speeding bullet. Capable of leaping even the world's tallest building in a single bound. And today, Rickey Henderson leads the Oakland A's into the Sky Dome. One win from the World Series. Game 5 is next. NBC Sports welcomes you once again to Toronto for Game 5 of the American League Championship Series. It's the Oakland A's and the Toronto Blue Jays. 41st consecutive sellout at the Sky Dome. 50,000 here, hoping it's not a farewell party. Rest assured it has happened before. Teams climbing off the deck and overcoming 3-1 deficits in postseason play. Blue Jay fans have specifically painful memories of it happening to them in 1985 when they had the 3-1 edge on the Royals and never got to the World Series. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Costas. Looking to make the first step in their comeback, Cito Gaston and the Blue Jays play their ace. They send Dave Stieb to the mound. He won 17 against Oakland's Dave Stewart, who won 21. They faced each other head-to-head twice before this year. Stewart won both times during the regular season 7-1 on a complete Game 4 hitter, and then, of course, in Game 1 of this series at the Coliseum in Oakland. A few moments ago, down on the field, Tony Kubek got together with the A's skipper, Tony La Russa. Let's listen.
All right, thank you, Bob. Tony, during the regular season, you've been quoted as saying Rickey Henderson is worth about 1 run per ball game. What is he worth in a short series like this?
Well, Tony, the one thing I always thought going against him was if we held him a 1 run, we'd done a heck of a job. And he's capable of more. Here in the short series, he's getting on base with base hits and walks. I mean, he's generating, 2 or 3. You just take any game you want to look at. He's got so many ways to make something happen and set things up for the guys behind him that I've never seen anybody. I don't think there's ever been a leadoff man like him in baseball.
Some quick comments. Jose Canseco.
I think Jose will show you his great stroke. The ball inside yesterday, he hit for a home run. If you get that ball out away from him and he get a little better extension, I think he hits it farther. But there's no one way to pitch Jose, and you can just keep watching these games, and you'll see him handle everything sooner or later.
Dave Stieb.
Steve is he's a very tough competitor, and you have to watch and see what he's throwing this particular day. The other day, a lot of breaking balls. We expect a few more fastballs today. We have total attention and total respect for him.
Dave Stewart.
Stewart's the perfect guy for this situation. We expect him to do what he always does, and that's give us a real good chance to win the game.
You're up 3 games to 1, and yet you still seem to be a little bit on edge.
Well, Tony, the reason we're up 3-1 is we came in with a lot of respect for the Blue Jays and determined to play as hard as we could. Our attitude today is to expect a very tough game. That way nothing's a surprise. So we're not changing a thing. In fact, Cito just reminded me. He told me, I'll see you Monday, and I know that's his attitude. So we got to do everything we can to stop that.
Thank you, Tony. Bob?
He thinks Jose Canseco can hit one even farther, does he? A frightening thought. If the A's are to wrap it up today, they'll have to do it without their leading hitter in terms of batting average, Carney Lansford. The hamstring injury still bothering him. He won't play today. If the series is extended to Game 6, it is only possible, not definite, that he would play Tuesday in Oakland. We'll check the starting lineups when we come back right after this.
Game 5 of the American League Championship Series is brought to you by Geo. Get to know Geo, sold and serviced by Chevrolet Geo dealers. By new Keystone and Keystone Light, bottled beer taste in a can. Wouldn't that be great? By New York Life, the company you keep. And by the good time, great taste of McDonald's.
By Major League Baseball.
Moments away from the first pitch. Here's Tony La Russa's lineup against Dave Stieb. Henderson at the top, of course, and now Tony Phillips bats second, playing third base in place of Carney Lansford. Canseco in right. Parker, who didn't play yesterday against the left-hander Flanagan, but did hit a homer off lefty Jimmy Key in Game 3 on Friday night, is the cleanup man. Dave Henderson in center field. McGuire down to sixth. Steinbach to catch. Weiss at shortstop, and the very underrated Gallego at second base.
I would think, Bob, that Dave Stieb would like to have a better fastball than he had in the Oakland Coliseum. He thought the home plate umpire might have been squeezing the strike zone, but he didn't throw the ball very hard. And if he's got the slider and the fastball to complement it, he's a different pitcher.
Before he left, by our count, he threw only about a half dozen pitches, clocked better than 85 miles per hour. Now, he has an excellent assortment of breaking pitches, but he's got to rely on the fastball more than that to be effective.
Defense, a lot of speed in the outfield. Two throwing arms, not very good. The focus really in this series has been on Rickey Henderson and the speed. And a lot of the focus on Ernie Witt and the other catchers in this series. There have been 20 stolen bases, Bob, only one caught stealing. And the tendency is to blame the men in the mask, and that's just not so. The pitchers at times haven't hold runners very closely. But with Rickey, it doesn't matter.
Henderson has done all that with more than a touch of style. He strutted in front of the home fans, and when the fans here in the Sky Dome have gotten on him, he's just flashed that irresistible smile, doffed the cap. He's basked in it one way or the other.
A standing ovation getting picked off first base by John Cerruti.
Just to prove that he is human. He was picked off, and he has committed an error. 3 balls and a strike. They've walked him 6 times in the series. He walked over 120 times during the year. That small strike zone out of the crouch. They also hit him with a pitch once, so they've made his work easier.
And you can see by that defensive shot, a speed guy that you cannot play shallow. 2 home runs yesterday showed that.
He's aboard with a walk. This is a familiar and painful pattern for the Toronto Blue Jays, walking Rickey to start an inning or the game.
He's 13 of 20 times now. It's a pattern that Stieb, a good part of his career, has plagued him. He has been so brilliant at times, all the one-hitters we've cataloged for you, but getting out of the box in a hurry, walking people. And against Oakland with Rickey Henderson, you know what offense he can generate all by himself.
Tony Phillips to the plate. 3 for 14 in the series. Not going first pitch, ball 1 to the switch hitter.
And Stieb quickened his delivery on the first pitch to Phillips. A different kind of protection than when Carney Lansford's there, who never strikes out. Phillips, a left-handed hitter. The catcher has to throw over the top of him if Rickey's running. What versatility in this lineup. Dave Henderson in the second spot yesterday behind Rickey against the left-hander. Carney Lansford with Phillips there, who's had a good series defensively especially.
Jockey McGuire and Parker between 4th and 6th, depending upon lefty or righty. Not going again and fouled back. If Henderson gets one more steal, as we've mentioned earlier in the series, he snaps a tie at present with Lou Brock for most steals in a postseason series. Brock swiped 7 in both the 1967 and 68 World Series for St. Louis.
And just with a naked eye, Dave Stieb has already thrown at least 2 pitches to the first 2 hitters, harder than any threw in the first game he started in this series.
A ball and a strike. It was Cerruti who picked Henderson off yesterday.
Stieb is quick to first base, but when he gathers to go home plate, he can have that high left leg kick, and something that Al Whitmar's pitching coach wants. He wants him to swivel a little bit to get more drive to home plate, and that gives the base stealer an edge.
He's going. Pitch taken. Witt throws. He's broken the record.
You know, off and on the last couple of years, Ernie Witt has had trouble with his throwing shoulder. And some of it has been by getting a lot of foul tips off the right shoulder. And he's bounced now 3 throws that I can recall. Some of it is because of Ricky, and you've got to hurry your throw. You can't get much on it. You may not get a good grip. But from up top, a little special view for you. Even a good throw, don't believe he'd had him.
The pitch was called a strike. It's 1-2. Ricky at second, nobody out.
And Tony Fernandez now. Phillips from the left side may pull the ball a little bit more than right-handed. So the second baseman, Liriano, has to play his normal position, which means Tony Fernandez at shortstop has to jockey, which creates a gap in that direction. And with Phillips from the left side, who's already beaten out a bunt in this series, Gruber has to come in. And look at the artificial surface from that shot from up top. The left side, when Tony starts jockeying, is going to be open for Phillips. Of course, he would like to pull the ball to the right side if he can advance Henderson, if he doesn't steal it.
Phillips stepping out as Steve took too long. He wheels and doesn't throw. And now he stares at Tony Fernandez. I don't know if he expected Tony to be there or not.
He doesn't look very sure of himself in any regard, Dave Stieb. It may have been a missed pickoff attempt. Or if he wants him to hold Henderson more close to the bag.
The 1-2 pitch outside earlier in his career. And this is a tendency that Steve has curbed as a more mature pitcher. But he was notorious around the league for glaring at his own fielders if he felt they messed up, if a cheap hit eluded them, or they didn't turn a double play, or for staring into the enemy dugout. If he broke a bat or retired a hitter on a wicked pitch, he would look in there as if to say, okay, who's next?
Al Widmar's pitching coach, sitting next to Cito Gaston, has had him try and curb the emotions outwardly, because when you've got your team mad at you because you're maybe showing them up, and the opposition, you got a problem. But Dave Stieb has curbed that recently.
Now the 2-2. Popped up. Let's see if it stays in. It will for Gruber.
A hard sinker by Dave Stieb. And I think when Ernie Witt went out to talk to him before that last pitch, it may have been something as simple as, look, if Ricky's going to steal, he's going to steal. Get the guy with the bat in his hand. Now Gruber checking with Stieb, where Dave may try and pitch Canseco. Should he play him near the line if he's going to sink the ball? If he's got a good fastball and riding the fastball, you may play Canseco a little bit off the line.
Steve Horn here in the booth tells us he's thrown 4 fastballs so far, the best of which has been clocked at 90.
There's a couple of those high, one high one out of the strike zone to Phillips and one inside high again to Ricky Henderson. And then he's thrown some sinkers.
Jose Canseco with Henderson at second. And one out here in the top of the first. The throw in behind, he's back easily.
Remember up in Boston when we were there a few weekends ago when Henderson was on second base and a man on first, and Boston was struggling, and Ricky tried to steal third base and was thrown out with Canseco at the plate?
It was Rick Cerone who cut him down on that occasion. There's a strike. You look at Canseco up there. If he's on your side, he's Paul Bunyan. If you're on the other side, he's Goliath. Come to think of it, the Jays have a David on the mound.
They're still talking about the 480 plus. The estimates range up to 550. It's interesting how good a hitter this guy is, or can be at times. When they put the shift on, he said very simply, if they give me the right side, he said, I'll go 4 for 4 through the right side if there's running and scoring position. He said, I will shoot the ball that way, and he got a base hit or two in that area.
Parker on deck. Then if the inning is prolonged, it'll be Henderson. Each hitter in the heart of the order, 3, 4, and 5, has a homer in this series. So does McGuire if you go down 1 to the 6th slot. Dave Henderson and McGuire hit theirs off Steve in game 1. Foul back.
A sweeping breaking ball. When Dave Steve has the fastball, when he's high 3/4 delivery, the one Bob told you about where he's around 90 miles an hour, if he stays up there, the slider is so much better. Not only is harder, but it bites more. And it has a little downward action instead of being flat. And there have been some pitches so far tonight, Bob, he's been on top pretty well.
Ahead of Canseco, 0-2. Hit to center field. It'll drop for a hit. Rickey comes speeding around. Naturally waved home by Latchman. Mosby's throw. They allow it to come through. Canseco stays at first with an RBI single.
You just saw, that was Merv Rettenman, the first to greet Rickey Henderson. You just saw the 2-strike mode of hitting Jose Canseco. Remember the hard swings he had earlier in the count? No balls, 2 strikes from Steve. Steve put a pitch up and in where you could really get Canseco out a couple of years ago, and he goes in his 2-strike mode of hitting and just puts the ball in play with a man in scoring position. This is not a dumb hitter, folks. Ooh.
A few boos now for Parker. He got some bad press here because some Blue Jays felt he rubbed it in when he watched the home run that he hit in Oakland disappear. He's hit 2 in the series. 1 in Oakland off Stottlemyre. 1 here in game 3 off Jimmy Key. Outside, Rickey Henderson, scoring the game's first run, has now scored 6 times after the 7 walks he's received. I mean, what more proof do you need?
That kind of confidence or arrogance is the kind of proof you need.
In the air to the left side, Gruber and Fernandez chasing it. Mookie Wilson coming in, and an over-the-shoulder grab by Gruber, going away from the plate. A fine play.
Kelly's high school football training down in Texas. Over the shoulder. Immediately will look to make sure that Canseco cannot tag up and go to second base. A lot of foul territory in case you haven't seen games here before. You know, we've talked about the 2 teams total of 21 stolen bases now. Just 1 caught stealing. The man caught stealing standing on first base right now, the 40-40 man of last year, Jose Canseco. The only caught stealing thus far in this series.
Dave Henderson with 5 hits, 4 of them for extra bases, 3 doubles and a home run. That's a strike. The plate umpire is Rick Reed. Steve Palermo at first. Dave Phillips at second. Dan Morrison at third. Darrell Cousins on the right field line. Dale Ford left field side. Oh, and 2.
Can you imagine how frustrating it's got to be for Dave Steve? I'm sure he felt coming out of the bullpen he had good stuff. Perhaps better than game 1, but Rickey walks. The stolen base and an 0-2 pitch muscled by a guy who's a great hitter at times, Canseco, when you're down 1-0. But that is a tribute to this Oakland team under Tony La Russa. There are a lot of ways, a lot of things they can do. Keyed by Rickey Henderson.
The 0-2 pitch. They chase him back. He had that look about him, didn't he?
And it's a count where years ago you wouldn't steal him, but no balls, 2 strikes. Canseco with that speed, if he's got the green light, and we look like he did, he might go. If he makes it, he's in scoring position. If he gets thrown out, you start the count fresh. Next inning for Dave Henderson. Not going.
Pitch out.
Threw the thought in their mind, though, didn't he?
Mark McGuire on deck. We're in the top half of the first. He walked and scored on Canseco's single. He's going on this pitch. Taken outside. Witt's throw. Got a chance and got him. Second man thrown out of the series. Canseco both times. Witt had to lunge and then release quickly. A good play by the Blue Jay catcher. Here's the lineup for Cito Gaston. Mosby, Wilson, McGriff, Bell the DH, Fernandez at short, Witt, Gruber, Felix, and Liriano against Dave Stewart. 21-9 for the year. The game 1 winner. Not at his very best in game 1, but good enough. Worked 8 good innings, then gave the ball to Eckersley for the 9th. He had trouble early in the game. Witt got him for the home run. He trailed at 1.31. From about the 4th inning on, he was in pretty good shape.
After Witt had the leadoff home run in the 4th, he then went on to retire 14 of 16. And it was one of those games, and the Blue Jays have had a couple of that, where one base hit or so might have gotten the starter out, and they might have been able to pad their lead. So this series isn't quite as lopsided as you would think. When you start thinking a ground ball with infield back, a fly ball, sac fly, in most cases for the Blue Jays, they've had opportunities. In fact, Lloyd Mosby's been on base 8 times in the last 3 ball games. I figured that's what they wanted. If our leadoff guy can get on with a high on base percentage, we can score, and the Blue Jays haven't.
Well, even a couple of key base hits yesterday, and they had their chances. This could be a tied series. As it is, they're on the brink of going home for the year. Hit to short. Weiss. 1 down, and he took his time there, and Mosby made it very close.
Mosby was swinging the bat and running and getting out of the batter's box in a hurry. And Weiss, an artificial surface, playing a little more deeply. I think a lot of people who have not seen Mike Gallego, the second baseman, have been thrilled at some of the plays he's made. Early on, you had Tony Phillips playing that position, and he was brilliant. He perhaps stole 3 or 4 base hits and tough plays in Oakland. Lansford goes down, Phillips goes to third, and Gallego makes 2 good plays yesterday.
Mookie Wilson, the only Blue Jay to hit safely in every game so far.
This kind of versatility, not so important in September with the expanded rosters, but when you get back to the 24-man roster, you have that injury with Lansford, and versatility becomes important again.
0-2. Yesterday's loss was the first defeat handed to the Blue Jays with the dome closed. They had won 11 straight under those conditions before bowing 6-5 yesterday. A bouncing ball, another chance for Weiss. Releases on the run and gets Mookie.
And you can see by Walt Weiss, last year's Rookie of the Year, even after the injury this year, he knows who's running. He knew how much time he had with Mosby, got him. He knows Mookie is a faster runner. He charges the ball harder and gets rid of it quicker.
The fans react to McGriff's arrival in the batter's box. Looking to snap out of a month-long slumber. Big cut, and he doesn't get it. He's homerless in exactly 100 at-bats. And we've been telling you about this since the series started, because after all, he is the American League's home run leader for the year with 36. Lost in the shuffle is the fact that the next guy, George Bell, hasn't hit one out since September 15th. Look what they've done combined. All 5 hits are singles.
And a lot of those at-bats have come with men in scoring position. Talking to Tony La Russa before the ball game, Bob, when you and I were there. Tony La Russa and Freddie McGriff went to the same high school in Tampa, and he said they retired my number. Tony La Russa did. He said that was before Freddie McGriff came along. He said he suggested to the school they retire another number so Fred can have his own identity in an old high school. He's thrown hard. Any myth was thrown out the window in game 1. They were talking about his arm being tired. He threw the ball hard in that first game too, and got the breaking ball in and threw an excellent fork ball.
Look how far McGriff stands from the plate. Welch got him yesterday running fastballs away. This one's hit hard, and Weiss flags it down. He had him played perfectly. He gets all 3 assists in the inning. A shot through the box, but Weiss perfectly positioned, snaps that glove down, and the Jays go in order. A look at some NFL scores from earlier today as we head to the top of the second. Double bad news for Buffalo. They lose the game big, and they lose Jim Kelly, their quarterback, for at least 4 weeks. Separated shoulder, hit by John Hand of the Colts while throwing a touchdown pass to Andre Reed, so he's out for a month. Miami wins in overtime. You saw the other scores, and here's the shocker. Although the Bears did rally, an improving Tampa Bay team with Vinny Testaverde beats them 42-35.
Look at my team, the Packers. Lindy Infante.
What's that make them, 3-2 now?
Yeah.
And the Cowboys, meanwhile, are 0-5.
Canadian Tony Mandrich perhaps got more playing time again this week.
Here's Dave Henderson. The 1-0 pitch to him is in there. He'll be followed by McGuire and Steinbach. The A's leading 1-0 in the second. Threw it hard.
He's got a much better fastball. When he's on top with a little crisper delivery, that sinker can be vicious. When Steve first came up, he was a power pitcher, 92, 93. Rode the fastball and the hard slider. He's added the curve and the sinker ball and the change.
Breaking ball got him looking.
He's got a few pitches going right now.
The pitch before was just a good hard fastball. And then he goes to the breaking ball here. And like you say, Tony, he has the basic curveball. He'll also aim that slider at your hip, and it comes in with that darting motion. He'll give you different arm angles.
Well, look at Ernie Witt. He sets up the outside part of the plate, gives the target, and Steve is on the target. That slider, I don't know if it's as consistent as a Steve Carlton. The kind of slider Steve had to right-handers where even if the hitter knew it was coming, forget it. But when Dave's got that kind of slider in the game, it's like Carlton's or Guidry's or Sparky Lyle's.
2-0 to McGuire, who reached 100 home runs lifetime, faster than any hitter in the history of the game, with the exception of Ralph Kiner, the multiple home run champion for the Pittsburgh Pirates. McGuire got to home run number 100 this year in exactly his 1400th career at bat. Kiner got it in number 1351. A strike on 3-0.
I bet you McGuire was hoping he had the green light, and he didn't. It was just a batting practice fastball, not much on it. Upstairs.
He pops this one a mile high.
Gruber.
Eventually it comes down in whose glove?
Ernie,
Gruber and
I
Witt
think.
were both there.
Ordinarily, the pitcher, after he hears a man call for it, will get between the two men about ready to collide. Gruber thinks Ernie's got it. Ernie thinks Kelly's got it. And Steve couldn't block anybody off because he wasn't sure. Kelly Gruber was playing so deeply for McGuire in the 3-1 count. He had a long way to come.
I guess you got to be careful in these dome stadiums when you say a mile high. There's no room for exaggeration. We know for sure this thing is 31 stories high, which is the better part of a mile, but not quite there. Steinbach. Down and away, ball one.
Oh,
2 out, nobody on.
What did people figure yesterday? Canseco's home run, that's 31. They said it went 21 stories high. I figured about 10 or 11 feet. And they were trying to figure out what the arc on the ball was. Was it coming down or still going up? And I guess that's why it's just a rough 500-foot estimate on that home run. You're talking Leviathan, folks. Way up there in that orange exit near the foul pole, 5th deck.
One and two to the A's catcher. He had 273 for the year. He's 2 for 11 in the series.
Now Steve's been jumping ahead after walking Henderson. He stole a base. Pitching ahead in the count.
2 strikeouts in the inning. His first 2 of the game. To the bottom of the second, 1-0 Oakland. Street scenes outside the Sky Dome just before the start of this game. First pitch just before 5 o'clock Eastern time. George Bell 0 for his last 11 in the series.
They've pitched him tough. We've talked about it. When he's been up on the plate in the deep crouch, they've busted him inside. When the catchers see him move off the plate a little bit, they go away. Like that.
He might have a soft base hit, and he does. A check swing single to center for Bell, and that's the way the bottom of the second begins, with the Jays down 1-0.
Dave Stewart couldn't have made a better pitch. Fastball first pitch. George taking all the way. Hard breaking ball away. Bell is actually fooled on the pitch, as you see. He's trying to hold it. He didn't see that late-breaking slider, and he comes up with a base hit on what looked like a pretty good pitch.
Dave Stewart next year has a crack at the Oakland record for most consecutive 20-win seasons. Catfish Hunter did it 4 times in a row in the early 70s. The league record is Walter Johnson's 10 from 1910 through 1919. The National League record, Christy Mathewson with 12. The Major League record, both leagues combined, Cy Young, 14 straight. And that's why they call it the Cy Young Award. Of course, in those days, the starting pitcher would stay in longer. The bullpen wasn't a factor. A guy could get 45 starts in a season. So the comparisons from era to era are kind of specious.
What did Denny McLain get when he won his 31 games? I think he got 42 starts. Had a lot of complete games. Now, for Dave Stewart, around 35, as you said. Some pitchers, they like to hold down in the low 30s.
1-0 to Fernandez. Ball 2 to Tony. Stewart pitched into the 7th inning in 30 of his 36 regular season starts, and then went 8 in the first game of the playoffs. So he usually gives them enough innings to spare the bullpen too much work and keeps them close enough to have a decent chance to win. In fact, the bullpen lost some leads for him, Eckersley specifically, in the season's last month, or he might have won 23 or 24 this year. Settled for 21.
Both times Eckersley lost. The leads were when Stewart was going for his 20th.
Two-0 pitch hit in the air down the left field line, and it fades foul.
Bob, we've talked so much about scouting reports, and I was talking to Dave Duncan, Dave Stewart's pitching coach, before the ball game, as to how much he used the scouting reports. He said, oh, we digest every bit of Ron Shooter's information. He said, but because we've got a veteran pitching staff, he said, we go over strengths, weaknesses, how to pitch, how to play, but basically we let our pitchers go out and see what they've got that day, and or what they don't have, and then they pitch in accord with that.
2-1 pitch, Bell not going. Count levels at 2-2.
It's like yesterday with Bob Welch. Bob Welch has a great curveball. He only threw 5 the entire time he was out there. He didn't feel that he needed it. And Ron Hassey, his catcher, felt his fastball and his forkball were doing okay. And Welch was struggling, but they thought as long as he kept his team in the ball game, they didn't even throw it. There's Bob.
Fernandez hits it hard. Gallego flags it down, gets the force. Weiss flips. Safe at first. If they had turned that, it'd be worthy of being repeated on This Week in Baseball for about a month.
Well, they didn't turn it only because Fernandez is hitting from the left side, running much better this year than last after he had the knee surgery. George Bell puts as much pressure as he can. We just focused in on Mike Gallego a while ago, and look at Weiss, the acrobat like Nureyev, gets out of the way of a hard sliding Bell. Bell gets a good jump, walking lead. Gallego, the little acrobat. Was there some quickness shown there? The quickness that sometimes the middle infielders do not show for the Blue Jays. They've got running speed, but quickness more important.
Witt 2 for 12 in the series. One of the 2 hits, a game-1 homer off this man, Dave Stewart. There he goes on the first pitch. Ernie with a drive to left. Henderson has a beat on it, and Fernandez retreats to first.
And Witt had the entire left side open. Hit it very hard. He'd wished he'd gotten it on the ground.
Going back just a moment, Tony, to the middle infield play, La Russa has told us flatly that if Gallego played second base every day so that he could establish himself in the minds of baseball people, not as a utility man, but as an everyday second baseman, he'd win the Gold Glove.
I think people in baseball who've seen him over the last couple of years would agree.
Frank White has a zillion of them in his great career with the Royals.
Harold Reynolds broke the string.
Gruber with a bullet that is fair inside the chalk.
No foul interference.
Fernandez to third, stopped there by McLaren on Gruber's double. Hitless through the first 3 games. Gruber has 5 hits in his last 6 at-bats, 4 singles yesterday, and a double here in the second.
And the left field foul line umpire left field rather. Dale Ford was out there, and Ricky Henderson made a heck of a play. They are very aware because there was a controversial play that scored a run for the Orioles on that last weekend with Devereaux on the move. Ford was out there, and this is an outstanding play by Ricky Henderson, Bob, because if the ball gets by that little corner, it's to the 328 side. He sees the carom, he gets on it very quickly, and that prevented a fast runner from scoring.
The Jays also got
defense has been important.
Jays got a bad break, though, by the direction of the carom. If it gets around that corner and pinballs around, no matter how quickly Ricky gets to it, it could take a crazy bounce. So,
well, that's why in a strange ballpark, you go out in the off day, and Rene Latchman and the coaches were hitting balls to their outfielders in those corners to play those caroms.
Junior Felix wraps it to second. Gallego, they're going to leave two. A single by Bell and a double by Gruber. But they're left at second and third, and we're back after these messages from your local station.
An old Milwaukee Light. It doesn't get any better than this. And by Buick and your Buick dealer, the great American road belongs to Buick.
Walt Weiss to face Dave Stieb, and taking a strike as we move to the third. Oakland with a first inning run, leading 1-0.
You want to talk about a second inning for the Blue Jays? They had 5 balls hard. Give you the idea. On the other hand, Henderson walks, leading it off. Cito's got to be a little frustrated. He steals a base. Canseco flares one to center, and they've got the run.
Foul wide of first, 0-2.
Playing that second was Gallego, getting to Fernandez's ball.
And not settling for the play at first.
No.
Immediately, without any hesitation, wheeling and getting the force play. Otherwise, the double by Gruber scores a run.
Well, I think we've seen so far in this series that the Oakland Athletics make the double play under pressure, at this point anyway, better than the Toronto Blue Jays middle infielders.
Didn't miss by much. It's 2-2.
You know, when you talk about middle infield play for Tony Fernandez, it can't be easy because for a lot of time this season, and we see it now in the League Championship Series, Liriano and Lee have been a tandem. And Fernandez has had to play, I would say, since his tenure as a shortstop on this team, with about 20 different second basemen. A little bit of different timing, rhythm. Young infielders and experience in Liriano and Lee.
A leadoff walk to Weiss. Let's go back to a game first, let's go back to the last inning. This is Kelly Gruber, the ball that he hit for a double moments ago. Fans may have tried to reach it, but they couldn't. Nobody touched it, so the ball is in play. No fan interference. This is last Saturday, the game in which the Jays wound up clinching the division against the Orioles. Phil Bradley at first. Ripken doubles. That fan grabs it, and it's totally up to the umpire's judgment in that situation. It's not an automatic 2 bases. They can award the runners however many bases they feel they would have gotten had the ball stayed in play, and they allowed a speedy runner, Phil Bradley, to come all the way around from first on that play, and Ripken got the RBI double.
John Shulock was behind the plate that day and made a very alert call, scoring the runner after Frank Robinson argued.
Gallego looking a bunt and taking a seat.
It's the pitch you want to make, up and in. Not that Dave Stieb could not throw a slider in a bunt situation, because it can be so hard to handle also. Rene Latchman, brother Marcel, pitching coach for Doug Rader's Angels, had a heck of a year with that staff. He just wore down at the end. Finley doesn't get hurt. They could have pushed this A's team right till the end, as Kansas City did.
Gallego bunts toward first. McGriff looks at second. No play there. Liriano covers. Successful sacrifice.
The Oakland A's don't do a whole lot wrong, do they? No matter what situation you put them in, defensively or moving a runner.
Here's a guy who hasn't done anything wrong, or at least virtually nothing wrong. Ricky Henderson. Take a look at this list. These are the categories in which he leads the series. He's scored 8 runs. That ties a League Championship Series record. But it took Jim Rice 7 games in 1986 during the Miracle Red Sox comeback to do it. We're in game 5 here. Ball 1. A free agent after this year. He's going to be like the guy in the cartoons, sitting in a bank vault surrounded by huge sacks with dollar signs on them. He'll strut down the street like that guy on the Monopoly cards. That top hat, assessed for repairs on Boardwalk and Park Place.
Once again, with a runner on second base for Oakland, they take such aggressive leads. Liriano now has to try and hold him closer, and the hitters see this. Dave Stieb throws a slider. They may go the other way. In fact, Ricky was closed up as if he was looking for something away to drive the opposite way. Liriano is breaking for the bag again. We saw that with Manny Lee. Blue Jays, on the other hand, they'll take shorter leads overall and try and relay pitch location.
2-1 pitch fouled off.
Love those modern terms. The one coined by Charlie Lau, the late Charlie Lau, situational hitting. He wrote a book on it, his second book, which is a Bible for Tony La Russa. In a situation, you look at the defense, you find a hole, why not try and exploit it? If the hole is the second baseman jockeying, play the percentages.
Stieb brings it home, 2-2, and this one will make the seats as well. What we haven't seen to this point, and I'm not advocating it, merely speculating about it, nobody's been knocked down, at least not to send any specific message. None of the A's hitters have been knocked down. Henderson has not been sent sprawling. Some old-timers would say, why not?
I'll tell you one thing, if an Oakland player should get hit, you brought it up, I didn't, it could get mean. Dave Stewart will protect his people. But
Dave Stieb led the league with 13 hit batters this year.
You know, you get the frustration being down 3-1. Dave Stieb can show those signs of wildness. He threw the one pitch in the butt situation up and in, which was a good pitch to Gallego before he did get the sacrifice.
Well, when you think about the league leading total of hit batsmen, he does bring that slider around the corner to right-handed hitters. Plus, he's got some nasty in him. Put those two things together, he's plunked a few. Another 2-2 pitch. A drive to right center field. Mosby and Felix chasing after it. It splits them up against the fence. It's 2-0 Oakland, and Ricky rounds second, never hesitates. Here's one thing he doesn't have yet until now, a triple.
He needed no coach. He was shooting that way from the first pitch, and even when it went 2 balls and 2 strikes, he still was protecting against the vicious Dave Stieb slider. He got what looked like a fastball up, and when you watch him go around the bases, he never picks up Latchman. He did it all himself. He watched Felix, Mosby, who was going to pick up the ball in right center field. What an incredible, fascinating player. And there's nobody as exciting as him when he's on his game as he has been in this series. Nobody. Out comes Cito Gaston.
How would you like to be Charlie Fox or Huey Alexander, the great veteran baseball men, advanced scouting for the Cubs in case they should win in the National League, or Bob Miller doing the same for Roger Craig and the Giants, assuming they're going to face the A's, trying to put together some kind of report about Ricky Henderson, who's having a laugh fest here at the expense of Toronto.
The report will be simple, that he can take over an entire short series. How to combat it will be a little more complex, won't it? Yeah, that battery of scouts is sitting behind home plate, right, pretty much directly behind home plate, about 10 rows back. Maybe during the course of the game, we're off the commercial, we'll be able to find them for you and point out some of the brains behind the scouting reports. So right directly behind home plate, the former Blue Jays catcher, Buck Martinez, but we'll find them for you in a commercial and maybe be able to show you some of those. Very intelligent men, baseball-wise.
2-0 Oakland. Henderson has scored one, knocked the other home.
Infield's going to come in now.
Ricky's on-base percentage is .667. He's reached 14 of 21 possibilities. Phillips takes a strike.
You know, he had a couple of home runs yesterday. His on-base percentage went down.
There's an overlooked stat. The ability to get the man home from third, not necessarily with a hit. With fewer than 2 outs, can you make contact? The infield's back. Can you get the ground ball? If it's in, can you hit the ball in the air and get the sac fly? 1-1.
You know, there are situations, there's 1 out now where, if you look at the third base umpire Dan Morrison, who gives a safe sign on the appeal from Ernie Witt, where there might be a contact play on Henderson on the move. If the ball's on the ground, but might not be on here because you've got Canseco next. So you may say, make sure that it goes through. Let's get Jose up, and then he grounds weakly.
From the stretch. Witt thought they had it. He held the ball for a second, but Rick Reed says no.
Well, Dave Stieb was somewhat vocal after the last game. He felt that the home plate umpire did not give him what he called the breaking ball in the inside corner of the plate. And Ernie Witt said, yep, that's right. We thought there was some pitches. Then Jimmy Key said the same thing about Dale Ford. He wasn't getting the low sinker ball.
Here's the 2-1. The shame of this from Toronto's perspective, and it's still very early, and they came back on Friday night down 3-0. But Steve actually has good stuff. He has good stuff, but he's down 2-0, and they have a man at third with 1 out. Might make it 3-0 here in just the third inning.
He's had good stuff, but he walks Ricky Henderson leading the first. He walks Weiss leading off the third, and that's gotten him in trouble. The stuff in the strike zone is what counts.
Great big strikeout. His third, and obviously at an opportune time.
They say the stuff in the strike zone is what counts. It counts a lot as we see the last wicked breaking ball to get Tony Phillips. When you get a guy like Henderson on your team, it's like having Boggs on the team in a way that they take so many base on balls and work the pitcher, it gets catching. And a team like this will work the pitcher. Toronto doesn't very often. They'll sit and wait for their pitch, take a walk.
Down and away to Canseco. Now 5 for 15 in the series after a slow start. You look at this physical specimen, and it's amazing that he wasn't taken in baseball's amateur draft when he came out of high school until the 15th round. A long drive to center field, but Mosby looks to have enough room here, and it doesn't make the track as he tucks it away. So they can't get Henderson home from third with 1 out, but his triple increases the lead to 2-0. Canseco being only a 15th round draft choice, Liriano bluffing a bunt, points up how difficult it is to evaluate talent at the early stages in baseball. It's an iffy proposition in any sport. But in football and basketball, you get a much better read on a guy coming out of college. You'd be surprised how many truly great players were overlooked and how many washouts were first or second round picks in baseball. A base hit for Liriano leading off here in the third, and he's now 3 for 5 in the series.
Liriano might have caught a break as hard as it was hit. Gallegos' wheels spun and he fell down. Don't think he would have gotten it anyway. So you've got 7 balls in a row hit hard now. From McGriff, lined out in the first, 5 hard hit balls in the second, and now Liriano.
Stewart has yielded 3 hits. Mosby grounded to short to start the game. Liriano has 2 steals in the series, so they've got to hold him close.
There has been a lot of starting of base runners in this series thus far. All kinds of counts, all kinds of situations.
He bluffs and Mosby swings and misses. Check Canseco's positioning. He's way off the line, almost in right center, but he's got his body twisted to face the right field foul line. At least he did before the last pitch.
A pattern they've used on Mosby, that's the defensive lineman, he's in right center field, is for the last month. Throw him hard stuff away or pitch him away, come inside occasionally, and then play him away and let him hit the left center field.
Stewart works 0-1 and misses high and away.
You know, they've been starting base runners in this series thus far. It's almost like seeing a National League ball game. We expect for the Cardinal team, the Cubs team under Zimmer. Cito Gaston has been forced to because the offense has been so sluggish. He hasn't gotten the home run much recently. Somebody was saying, Bob, before the game that the Blue Jays played 84 games this year where they've scored 3 runs or less, and yet they were 3rd in the leagues in runs scored.
The 1-1 pitch. He squares to bunt, pulls back, called strike. It took the Oakland A's only 4 games last year. A sweep of Boston. They're trying to do it in 5 this year. This is a franchise that has built itself toward continual success. 104 wins last year. 99 this year to lead the majors despite all the injuries. This is not a lightning in a bottle kind of team. It has happened that way in recent history. The Twins in '87 with the modest record, but they got hot. The only time in the last 4 years the Dodgers have had a +500 record was last year when they won it all. Of course, the Dodgers have a great franchise history, but in recent years they haven't been all that good, but they did catch lightning in a bottle in '88. With the A's, it's a continual pattern of success.
Well, the man's name is Sandy Alderson. He wheels and deals an awful lot. He's the Pat Gillick counterpart. Pat Gillick in the middle of all the deals for the Blue Jays. 2 very progressive organizations.
He's going on the 1-2 pitch, and Mosby fights it off and fouls it back.
And in those kinds of counts, 1 and 2 with a man going, anything close. Boyd's been taking some walks in this series. They're low on base percentage during the regular season. But you get in between. Should I take it or not? Might have been a ball. Ran it to 2-2, but he checked it because it was so close.
He takes off again. Inside. Here's the throw. He one-hops it there, and Liriano has his 3rd steal of the series.
22 stolen bases in the series with only 2 caught stealing. Steinbach had a lot on it. And this isn't a bad throw on artificial surface because the ball doesn't slow down when it hits the turf. Liriano a glance to pick the ball up off the bat in case it was hit. As the season progressed, Bob, Cito Gaston became more and more of an aggressive running manager. He's continuing it now.
He got a little piece of it, and Steinbach couldn't hold it. Or did he? Nope. Take it back. He missed it entirely. It looked like a foul tip at first. He missed it. Steinbach dropped it, so he had to apply the tag to Mosby, who's a strikeout victim. And it's the first K put in the book today by Dave Stewart.
Stewart finally stops the skein of hard hit balls off him with his strikeout. Like Welch yesterday, who was in trouble, the staff seems to make the pitches when they have to. Fastball up and into Mosby.
Mookie hits one in the air to right. Canseco with the catch. Liriano tags. No play on him. He gets to 3rd with 2 out.
See if that fly ball's 1 out too late. Which has been a little bit of the story of the Blue Jays in their offense. Leave that fly ball with nobody out. No continuity in the line. It's not just Mosby. It's just the continuity in the entire Blue Jays lineup for a month. Lloyd just wanted to hit the ball to the right side somewhere, and Stewart struck him out.
So here's McGriff, 3 for 18 in the series. The slump began in September during the regular season. They managed to win the division without a last month contribution from him.
Bob, his last at bat, you were talking about how far he is off the plate. He's moved up on the plate. With his, he's 6'5", and with his long arms, he can hit the pitch away when he's going right. Now, he's up on the plate about 8 inches closer than during the regular season.
Whatever he's doing, it hasn't worked.
He was a tinkerer. In fact, when Bobby Maddock, who runs the farm system and the former Blue Jays manager, when McGriff finally got to Syracuse, the AAA level, and started hitting well, Maddock had a talk. He said, look, every time you go for 5, you can't change your stance, open it up, move up on the plate.
2-1.
He said, you've got to have a series of bats before you make that adjustment. And very few adjustments needed by Freddie McGriff the first 3.5, 4 months. He was hitting so well.
In on his hands, and he fouls it off. McGriff is a very pleasant fellow in terms of his disposition, and he's tried to keep his chin up, remain smiling around the batting cage, even as he struggled the last several weeks. And after all, this is his first time in the true postseason spotlight. Canadian players do not get as much publicity, no matter how good they are, in the United States, as players of equal ability on American teams might. This is a chance for him, and so far he hasn't capitalized on it. Left field. Rickey Henderson had him played way off the line, but he has time to get over. He hit it nearly to the track, but still can't get untracked. Stewart maintains a 2-0 lead.
Back for the 4th, our guest commentator here in the ALCS, Bobby Valentine. And Bobby, I want to ask you a question. You are noted for setting defenses coordinating. A big park, artificial surface. How much does that mean?
Well, it's very important, and when you have an experienced pitching staff like Oakland has, they make the pitches, they throw it where they want it, and the defense is set accordingly. You could see it paying off in every pitch that Dave Stewart makes.
How about Parker? How would you try and pitch to him?
Well, you really have to run that ball in on Dave Parker's hands and throw the breaking ball down and in. You can't got to keep him from extending his arms and let him hit the ball to the big part of the park.
We'll check back with Bobby Valentine later on in the telecast. Here's Parker leading it off. Fouling one away, a ball and 2 strikes.
Jimmy, early on, Bobby, we saw where they were playing Parker to pull the infield and straightaway or late in the outfield. Not with Steve out there. He appears to have a better fastball, so they don't think he'll be able to pull Steve as much on the ground.
Two and 2. Finishing up on that point we started in the last inning. Dave Parker was a 14th round choice. Keith Hernandez, 42nd round. Don Mattingly, somewhere in the mid-30s, out of play again. You know, it is really a crapshoot when you talk about young baseball players. Some, the talent jumps right off the page. Everybody knew about Darryl Strawberry when he was still a teenager and in high school. But with others, it's a diamond in the rough situation.
Well, you started off with Jose Canseco. I guess about 6 years ago, Canseco weighed about 170 pounds in the Midwest League and A-League in the Oakland farm system. He got on the weight program, bulked up as his brother Osvaldo did, and he's about 230 now.
Parker rolls one to Fernandez. Tony has lots of time and underhands it over there for the out.
But I'll tell you about evaluating talent. Bob Watson was roaming the minor leagues as a hitting instructor for Oakland. We mentioned the other day he is now an executive with Houston. I remember running into Bob Watson in the airport about 7 years ago in Atlanta doing a game of the week, and he said, we were talking baseball, and he said, there's a kid you keep your eye on. Give me the name. His name's Canseco, born in Cuba. And that's 7 years ago, and Watson had him pegged. And he did say one of these. He's going to get bigger and stronger, it looks like. Oh, did he?
There's one other factor here. Obviously, physical ability matters a great deal in any sport. But of all the team sports that we follow in North America, this is the game of the most subtle skills. This is the game that you cannot overwhelm with sheer speed and size. The A's have a lot of strong guys, and that strength helps. They have Ricky's legs. but you still have to be able to play the game of baseball. You just cannot overwhelm it with pure athletic ability. You have to master the finesse aspects of the game, and that's why so many purely good athletes wind up as only so-so baseball players.
Well, Bo Jackson, his first year, was overwhelming it with athletic ability. Now he's starting to finesse his game a little more and add some things.
A drive to right center field. Junior Felix waves Mosby away. Game 4 from Candlestick after the Giants' exciting victory on the Robbie Thompson home run in Game 3 last night. The Cubs and the Giants set to go at 8 Eastern Time. A triple header on NBC, football, and then both LCS games starting here at the Sky Dome and concluding at Candlestick.
McGuire had a good September, and he's carried some of that right into October. Hanging a breaking ball, and he got under it.
Wilson and Mosby. Mookie for the honors. Steve works a very quick fourth. 2-0 A's. Dave Stewart to George Bell. Right down the middle, called strike one. As we move to the last half of the fourth, Bell had a check swing single to center his first time up, breaking an 0 for 11 drought in the series. He's still only 3 for 17.
Just keep pounding George Bell with fastballs. And they have pretty much with Freddie McGriff, too. You know, every pitcher, no matter how good he is, and we all know about Dave Stewart, over 60 wins the last 3 years, they have that one rough spot, sometimes two. Unless you're having your great day. You wonder if getting over that rough spot in the second inning wasn't the rough inning for Stewart. Hit hard by almost every batter, got out of it.
In the 1985 playoffs against Kansas City, Bell hit .321, but he had only 1 RBI. That came on a sacrifice fly. So he still hasn't hit a postseason home run. Narrowly missed one as it hooked foul on Friday night off Gene Nelson late in the game, and then wound up striking out. Here's the 0-2 pitch.
You know, there are pitching staffs and everybody in the American League that scouts the Blue Jays knows that George Bell hits bad pitches. Well, there are bad pitches 6 inches out of the strike zone. Then there are those 1.5 feet. And George might swing at those 1.5 feet out.
In the air, left center field. Dave Henderson is over.
Jammed him again, Bob. They just keep pounding the fastball in. The pitch before that set that up. They went breaking ball way out of the strike zone. And they just pounded him right back inside.
Let's check the football scoreboard once again. We gave you the finals earlier. The game's in progress. San Francisco trying to bounce back from the tough defeat a week ago against the Rams. The Rams cruising toward a 5-0 record. If they get it, they'd be the only undefeated team left in the league. Here's Tony Fernandez. Strike one. Speaking of football, the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL were supposed to play here yesterday. That's the way it was scheduled at the start of the year. Bumped to tomorrow, with the Blue Jays making the playoffs and hosting the weekend games. Rolled toward the hole. McGuire dives, can't get it. 1 out single for Fernandez.
McGuire had to cheat to home plate just a little bit in case Tony Fernandez wanted to drop a bunt down. You can see him creeping. The ball sneaks through the right side. And we've talked about aggressive offensive players. We've seen it with Henderson, Canseco, the way they swing the bat. You talk about aggressive defensive players. Look at that. 2 guys flat on their stomach, both diving for a ball right between them. McGuire and Gallego.
Witt at the plate. Gruber on deck. Fernandez bluffs the go, and the pitch is down and in.
Ernie has done that, not frequently, and he'll do it more on dirt and grass on the road, where the third baseman plays back off the line. John McLaren flashing the signs, and they hit and ran with him the last time Ernie was up when he lined out. So Ernie sees Phillips way off the line. He thought bunt, didn't get a pitch. Talking bunt for a base hit, not a sacrifice here, of course.
On the outside corner, 1-1. We were talking about Dave Stewart being denied the Cy Young Award when he started game 1, and we told you all about Juan Marichal and the great seasons he had without ever getting it. And it is a function of circumstance and timing as well as performance. In more recent history, think about Danny Jackson. What did he win? 22 or 23 last year for Cincinnati, just overwhelmed by Hershiser's incredible string at the end of the year. There's a 1-1 pitch to Ernie. Had him out in front, 1-2. You go back to 1985, and John Tudor was just about unconscious for the Cardinals. He pitched 10 shutouts, had an ERA under 2, actually a season better than most Cy Young Award winners, but that was Dwight Gooden's year.
How about Tom Browning his rookie year, one of the quietest 20-win seasons you've ever seen. Stewart went with the split-fingered fastball, a 1-1 count. Ernie Whitt looking for a fastball to pull through the right side. The split finger had him way out in front.
Now the 1-2 pitch.
Going. Nope.
A line drive caught brilliantly by Weiss.
Boy, do they have their charts right the way they want them? I mean, they've been hitting a lot of bullets off Stewart. And Weiss is perched right up the middle on a fastball high and away. Fernandez took about 5 quick false starts. He sees the line drive and he retreats.
Let's be honest here.
Oh, boy, what defense.
The A's have done the big things better, and they've also done the little subtle things better.
Well, they're not so little, those kind of diving plays. I mean, I know what you mean. They seem like little things, hitting cutoff men and
breaking up double plays like Ricky in game 1.
Putting your bat on the ball. You do that over 162, and you're going to come up with an additional, who knows, a dozen wins?
Gallego getting the force instead of the out at first after making that nice play in the hole earlier.
You know, one play I remember right after the Ricky Henderson slide, and the very next day, remember? Ball hits the ball, and it might have been a tougher double play. Gallego to Weiss to get George Bell.
The runner goes. Gruber swings and misses. Steinbach throws. Tony steals it.
One thing, Dave Duncan, they picked the proper pitch, a split-fingered fastball. If it is a true fastball, it's very close the way it is, but it would have taken that one step away from Hernandez. Talking to Dave Duncan, I said, how much you guys use that glide or slide step where you don't pick up the leg and just slide your delivery? He said, not very often. He said, our focus mainly is on the hitter. He said, but once in a while, if we have that feeling, we'll have our pitchers step up their delivery.
Off Stewart's leg, Weiss charges, throws on the run. They've done it again with the gloves.
Talk about a team that's snake bit. They're hitting bullets all over the place, right at people. That was another one.
And we're back after this from your local station.
American League Championship Series is brought to you by Anheuser-Busch. We brew our fine quality beers to be enjoyed responsibly. Remember, know when to say when. And by Kentucky Fried Chicken. Cross the road to Kentucky Fried Chicken.
We've got a correction on that San Francisco-New Orleans score. The score the folks on the trucks put up earlier was incorrect. It had San Francisco leading. It also had the game in San Francisco, which would be quite impossible with the Giants playing at Candlestick Park tonight. And in fact, at the Superdome, the Saints are leading 17-10. A 1 pitch to Steinbach.
You know, I was looking at my scorecard, and I make notes when the game in progress as you do. And I know this is subjective, but I'm talking about base hit hard here. Looking at Oakland, they've hit one ball, I think, hard. Ricky Henderson's triple. You look at the Toronto Blue Jays, I've got 9 hit fairly hard. A lot of mad people, obviously.
They have really played in tough luck today.
Ooh.
The A's have made excellent plays, no doubt about it. But they have tattooed some balls off Dave Stewart, and Kelly Gruber suddenly swinging a torrid bat. 4 singles yesterday, a ringing double today, and then hit one that could have been an RBI single that goes off the leg of Dave Stewart, and Weiss alertly charges and comes up with it to get him for the last out of the inning.
But again, that's a sophistication of keeping in-depth charts, and as Bobby Valentine told you earlier, the pitchers being able to execute. Pitch the guys where they're supposed to more often than not, and you can play them that way.
And how slim is the margin sometimes? Walt Weiss is on deck. When he batted in the 3rd, Steve was ahead of him 1-2. and didn't get the call on what he thought could have been strike 3 on a 1-2 pitch. He wound up losing him on a walk, and then he came home on Henderson's triple. Full count now to Steinbach. Right field, Junior Felix goes back and has time, makes the catch.
As the game progresses, you might notice something here. When the heat from 50,000 people in this closed stadium today, heat they generate, and seems to be more humidity, and later on in the ball game, the ball seems to carry better because of that heat and humidity.
Do we have to revise our early feeling? When I say we, I mean people around baseball in general, about the Sky Dome? Everybody thought, gee, it's going to be so much worse as a hitter's park than Exhibition Stadium. And yet, after moving in here, the Blue Jays, at least, for half a season, had more home runs per time at bat than an Exhibition Stadium. And we saw the ball fly all over the lot yesterday. Not just the home runs, but a lot of balls we didn't think were hit that well that carried nearly to the wall.
Conditions change, so open, close, win factor, how many people? Of course, they've always got a full house here.
Line out to Liriano. 2 quick outs in the 5th. Steve has now retired 7 straight since Henderson's RBI triple in the 3rd. Gallego sacrificed his first time up.
We talked in game 1 here about the dimensions being mislabeled in right and left center field by the 375 marks. The fellow from the Sky Dome said they have adjusted them and put them in their proper place. 375 is not accurate. 375, then it goes out more toward deep right and left center field to about 396 and then dead corner. But there's a lot more volume here. Center field area than Exhibition Stadium. Which is why Pat Gilling is putting more and more of a premium on speed, signing speedy players. That's why I think Junior Felix, the right fielder, some think he might be the prototypical Sky Dome player. World-class speed. We've talked about his power because of the deep alleys. Has an outstanding throwing arm. Pepe Guerrero, the coordinator of Latin American scouting, had a lot to do with him.
Gets him on strikes. The 4th strikeout for Steve. He's set down 8 in a row. Tony La Russa got his law degree from Florida State in 1978, passed the Florida bar the next year. The same year, he became the White Sox manager, succeeding Don Kessinger. So far as we know, he's the 5th lawyer manager in the history of the major leagues. A strike to Felix. Monty Ward before the turn of the century. Huey Jennings, Ty Cobb's manager with the Tigers. Miller Huggins with the Yankees. And Branch Rickey, who was a manager for a while before gaining lasting fame as an executive. All 4 previous lawyer managers are in the Hall of Fame. Felix singles up the middle, and that's the way the last half of the 5th starts.
The one thing Dave Stewart's done to allow some of these defensive plays to happen, although they couldn't get Felix, he's kept the ball down, kept it on the ground to give his infield defense a chance. They continue to hit him hard.
And the Sky Dome comes to life. Liriano a single and a stolen base his last time up. The Jays have had the leadoff man on 3 of their 5 turns at bat. But going back to late in game 3, they're 2 for their last 20 with men in scoring position. Despite that, they rallied from a 3-0 deficit to win in game 3. Came back from 6-1 to get to 6-5 before losing yesterday. Hit hard. McGuire's got it. Steps on the bag. He throws to second. Now we've got a rundown play. And McGuire chasing Felix toward the bag. Flips to Gallego. Double play.
The Blue Jays have the atom ball going today. Again, Liriano trying to take advantage of the situation. With Felix, a very fast runner on. McGuire holding him. He tries to shoot it through the right side, which is sound baseball. Hits it right at him again. McGuire wisely gives the ball up because he wasn't going to outrun Felix.
Double play, 3-6, 3-4. Mosby bats with the bases clean. Grounded out, struck out. The strikeout was big. It came with a man at second and nobody out in the third. Couldn't move him over. Then Wilson hit a fly ball for the second out.
Mosby didn't like the call by Rick Reed, the home plate umpire. He thought it should have been 2-2. Usually a player will not argue as too much on the first strike call. It's when the umpire puts you in a hole 0-2 and 1-2. But the frustration of the Blue Jays, down 3 games to 1, hitting so many balls hard, they're getting more and more on edge.
Todd Stottlemyre, he'd likely be the 6th game starter if they can get to that point. Mike Moore would oppose him.
It's a lot of youth right there. Stottlemyre about 24, Liriano not yet 25, about 24 I guess. Junior Felix 21. So this is a franchise that has a chance to be competitive for several more years. They've got some good young arms coming.
Hit to the hole. Gallego can't get this one. The double play looms large. It's the 2nd hit of the inning.
It's one of the first times the pitching pattern has gone against the defense. It was a split-fingered fastball, a harder one that usually Stewart throws away, where Mosby might have hit it more up the middle of the diamond for Gallego. But because he got on the inside part of the plate, Mosby was able to pull it, and Gallego playing up the middle. What an impressive defense we've seen so far tonight, huh?
Mookie Wilson 0 for 2 today, 5 hits in the series.
That's what he likes, first pitch fastballs. And they've done that a lot to Mookie. But it's a first pitch fastball right under his hands. He does not like to take pitches, especially the first one up near the plate.
Which is why, despite his speed and his generally high batting averages, he's never been a truly ideal leadoff man. Doesn't walk enough.
Toronto was looking at him a couple of years ago, and that's what Pat Gillick looked at, the on-base percentage. They know he could steal if he could get out. And before they got Mookie Wilson, they were looking at Gary Pettis from Detroit. The contract arrangement worked out, apparently.
Pettis, a brilliant glove man, but always a disappointing hitter. 0-2 the count to Mookie. McGriff on deck. Stewart has been nicked for 6 hits. His defense has helped him. Some balls hit right at people have helped him out.
This is the count we saw Canseco thrown out on earlier. 0-2 with 2 outs.
The runner's going. The ball is hit in the air to center field, and Dave Henderson has it.
Well, again, a semi-line drive.
Well, the horseshoe hasn't fallen out of Stewart's pocket yet. The Jays continue to hit in very tough luck. Top of the order in the top of the 6th. While Stewart has allowed the Jays 6 hits and several hard hit balls on which Toronto batters were retired, Dave Stieb has yielded only 2 hits, but both of them knocked in a run. He's walked only 2. Both men he's walked have scored, so everything he's done wrong has hurt him.
Well, you get the stolen base by Ricky, and you get the sacrifice by Gallego, and they helped.
There's an irony about Steve. A few years ago, he wrote his autobiography and entitled it, "Tomorrow I'll Be Perfect."
Come close more than once.
He has come within
Back-to-back
1 out
one-hitters
of a no-hitter 3 times in the last year. 8 2/3 his last 2 starts in September of '88 with no hitters, 8 2/3 with a perfect game on August 4th before Roberto Kelly of the Yankees doubled. Nobody has ever come within 1 out of a no-hitter as many times without getting it in the history of baseball as Dave Stieb.
Well, he had a bad hop single as we watched his sweeping curveball, and Henderson thought was inside, caught the inside part of the plate. Franco chopped one over the head of the second baseman, then Traber, broken bat single, broke up the other one from Baltimore.
A bullet right at Tony Fernandez. We're 1 hitter away from Canseco. In case you missed it yesterday, let's take a look at the moonshot he set off against Mike Flanagan. The camera has to tilt up to find it. That's right, boys. Believe it or not, it's in the upper deck. And we have sent Bobby Valentine up to nosebleed territory. And we're going to get a comment from his perspective when Jose steps up in a minute.
That's farther than 480. That's what they estimated at. But boy, when you start walking it off from home plate and see the dimensions and then look 11 stories high, the ball was on a downward trajectory, but not by much. That's extraordinary. It went out right where it's about 335 feet at floor level.
1-1 to Phillips, who's 0 for 2. Dave Stieb saying for many years, tomorrow I'll be perfect. 33 years ago today, Don Larson was perfect. October 8th, 1956, 27 up, 27 down at Yankee Stadium, Game 5 of the series against the Dodgers.
I'll bet the Goonie Bird, that was Don Larson's nickname, wasn't perfect the night before that game.
Well, it put him in the proper frame of mind, I guess,
Sure
for his
did.
feats of daring do. Phillips zings one to shortstop. And Fernandez shoots him down at first. Let's shoot up to Bobby Valentine. Bobby, can you see us or hear us?
And I'm up here in the 500 level, where usually these seats come with oxygen masks, they come with Dramamine, and definitely binoculars. Somehow Jose Canseco hit a ball up here, some 500 feet away. I don't believe that the ball landed here, and the other thing I don't believe is Jose said he's hit him further. Hit some home run.
Enjoy yourself, Bobby. Send all the fans out there my best regards. Canseco takes down and away for ball 1. Almost got the inside corner.
One thing that Canseco's become, even 2-0, he'll be fairly selective. Not the wild swinger he was coming through the minor leagues in his first year here.
Stieb falls behind 3-0. Parker next. Top of the 6th. 2-0 Oakland. Single runs in the first and the third.
He's a guy like one of Bobby Valentine's team members, Pete Incaviglia, in that they take batting practice. They both swing very hard. A little bit of difference is Canseco can take that in the game. Incaviglia's hit some awfully long home runs. And really lowered that strikeout total to this point.
Could very well be swinging. We'll never know with a pitch like that. He walks him on 4. The third walk given up by Stieb.
You got to wonder if Dave Stieb even cared to throw a strike, even though he's upset with himself. But Parker's and a couple of home runs, this big championship series, perhaps he prefers facing him.
Parker fouled out on a terrific play by Kelly Gruber, racing down the left field line in foul ground to make the catch. And then he bounced to short. Roller, is it fair or foul? Foul ball as McGriff backhands it.
Even though Stieb has thrown the ball very well, when you're in what might be your last game of the season, you're going to go to the pen as quickly as you can.
And there is
Any sign of trouble.
the indefatigable Jim Acker.
Been in all 4 thus far.
Skydome very quiet here in the top half of the 6th. Canseco skips back to first.
We've said this before, but when there were so many injuries before Ricky got here that Dave Parker carried such a big load of the offense. Tony La Russa will talk about all the other fringe players who didn't get much attention the last couple of years because of McGuire and Canseco and Stewart and all. But he said that actually made us a more cohesive team, a better team. He said finally those who contributed, as you said, Bob, the little things over the years to help us win over 100 last year, they were starting to get some credit. Their confidence level began to go up, and they've responded. The last 4 weeks of this season, they played almost perfect baseball, and they continue to do it through the league championship series.
Here's the 1-1 to Parker. A check swing bouncer toward Gruber. And that'll do it in the Oakland 6th. A key inning coming up in the bottom half. It's the heart of the order. McGriff, Bell, and Fernandez. Well, let's see if the Jays can make some noise in the bottom half of the 6th. We're getting close to Eckersley territory, so this is a very important inning against Stewart, a guy they've hit hard with nothing to show for it to this point. Down 2-0. McGriff with a roller toward Gallego. Had him play deep. Throws it quickly and gets it.
The man's all over the field. Whether it's short or second base, playing Fred McGriff to pull. Split-fingered fastball away. He reads it. Is moving to his right before the ball even leaves the bat. There it is, little sinker. Or a hard split-fingered fastball. Gallego knows just how much time he's got. Fred McGriff running. It's a clinic, folks. He's right in the middle of it.
George Bell is singled. Then Stewart ran one in on his hands, and he flied to left center.
Isn't it interesting, Bob, how you play a full season from the first game of the season? You play, 5 months, and everybody talks about the home runs. As soon as you get into pennant pressure time in September and then league championship, it's always pitching and defense. Hitting just seems to slow down. And the Blue Jays really played defense pretty well that last month to overtake the Baltimore Orioles. They were 12 games behind at one time.
One and two to George Bell. One out, nobody on, bottom half of the 6th.
Hear George Bell's comments after the game. We look at Nelson Luriana with the weights. Rob Ducey, the Canadian, in the jacket. Still hasn't had a chance here. Dave Stevens pitched well, but he's behind. George Bell made the comment. He said, I've never in my career fouled as many balls back. We just did another. That's when you're a little bit late. The fastballs are thrown.
In the air and foul down the left field line.
George said he's going to have to go back to the Dominican and get a swing back. When he does get out in front, because it's inside off the plate, he's got to pull it foul. If he tries to steer it fair, he jams himself. But boy, have these pitchers executed against him.
Holding him to 3 measly singles and a sacrifice fly. Fernandez, who has hit well, is on deck. Stewart works 1 and 2. And another foul back.
And the Oakland staff is experienced enough, as Bobby Valentine told you earlier, to keep the ball just out of the strike zone. Up the ladder that time, where if he hits it, chances are it'll be to center field and high in the air. Breaking ball away.
Here it comes. Fastball hammered, but foul.
You know, there are pitchers that do just enough to win ball games. And a Jack Morris from the Tigers, and Sparky Anderson always talked about him. You look at his seasons, he'd have a higher ERA. But so many times, Jack Morris, before he hurt the elbow a few years back, if he had 5-0, he wouldn't throw quite as hard and throw the split finger slider, and he'd score a few runs. If it was a close game, he'd keep you down. In a way, Stewart's that way. Not tonight, of course.
Toward the gap in left center field, Dave Henderson got a terrific jump.
Hanging breaking ball, hit hard again. they've got to be going back to the bench in the dugout and say, when are they going to start falling?
Up comes Tony Fernandez.
Hitters can't do any more than they've done against Dave Stewart. The defense has taken it away from them.
What a tremendous break Dave Henderson got on that ball Bell just hit.
Again, it was a breaking ball. Now, I don't know if the middle infielders are signaling him. Been a history of that in baseball. It's an off-speed pitch. Might be a glove behind the back to let your center fielder know. It's a fastball, maybe no glove, and he can just hold his spot. The center fielder can see, along with the shortstop and second baseman, the ball come off the bat. They may be giving him a sign out there. I know Don Budden did it for Jimmy Pearson.
With the Red Sox long ago. This is an 0-1 pitch. Tony is 1 for 2. He was robbed of a hit on his shot toward the hole in the second inning when Gallego ranged to his left, grabbed it, and got the force, cutting Bell down at second, the lead runner. Then he singled and stole a base in the fourth. 2-1. Fernandez has hit as high as 322. That came in 1987. He had a career average of 299 entering this year, and then hit 257.
Isn't that something how he's been around the plate? 56 strikes or balls swung at. A little over 70 pitches.
He struck out only 1, but he hasn't walked a soul.
You get the 2-0 lead in this big ballpark, and you can go right after him with a lot of fastballs, which he's done. We saw Dave Johnson in that ball game, the surprise starter for Baltimore, how he used this part. Sinker ball pitcher, and Devereaux had 8 putouts in center field in the Sky Dome that last weekend.
The Oakland A's trying to win their 5th American League pennant since leaving Kansas City in the late 60s. This is their 8th division title. Tony La Russa would like to take the 3rd and final step. His first division winning year, 83, with the White Sox. He didn't make it out of the playoffs. The Orioles beat him. Then last year he took the division and the pennant, but couldn't quite get the World Series as the Dodgers surprised him in 5. He'd like to take all 3 steps this time, and he'd be favored if he got to the World Series against either the Giants or the Cubs. They are baseball's best team over the last 2 years, no question, and they're the best team this year on paper, especially with their entire roster intact. What's supposed to happen doesn't always happen, though, and you've got ample examples of that in recent postseason history.
Dodgers, Minnesota. And these weren't bad teams. The Dodgers had such great pitching. Minnesota had that enthusiasm with Gaetti and Puckett and Reardon hacking it up in the pen.
2-2 pitch. Struck him out to end the inning. And just consider the Mets of 1986. They won 108 and came this close to being knocked out in the playoffs by Houston and the World Series by the Red Sox. Back after this from your local station.
The American League Championship Series is brought to you by Dr. Pepper, Diet Dr. Pepper, and Dr. Pepper bottlers throughout the USA. And by Northwest Airlines. Their job is helping you do yours.
Cito Gaston had his best major league season with the Padres in 1970. Hit .318, whacked 29 homers, drove home 93. Never quite had another year to approach it. He had 2 tours of duty with Atlanta. Roomed with Henry Aaron for a while. Still very close to the hammer. Dave Henderson to the plate. And Steve back to work in the 7th.
Cito Gaston was also an excellent center fielder. I wonder if he will choose to come back. I mean, he's got the job if he wants it. He may prefer being a hitting instructor. He'd be a guy at the job that he did. It's against Blue Jays policy. They usually go 1 year at a time with their managers, coaches. I want to get him signed for more than 1 year. The job he has done, where this team has come from.
Well, he might be in position to demand a little change of policy. Say, hey, at least give me the security of a couple of years if I'm going to commit to this, because with me it's not life and death. I can walk away from it, and you know I'm not kidding you. You know that's not a ploy. I'll do it if you don't meet my terms. Clarence Edwin Cito Gaston. As the story goes, he got the nickname from a Mexican wrestler. He grew up in San Antonio, not that far from the border, and apparently a wrestling tour came through town, and there was some big Hulk named Cito, and he said, look, when your name is Clarence, you'll latch on to any nickname, so that was okay with me.
He didn't like that last bouncing breaking ball from Steve. It's getting to that point of the game where they monitor Dave Stieb very carefully. Around 100 pitches, I guess. He gets in the 6th inning or so. He's done an outstanding job, except for a couple walks, a stolen base, and a sacrifice. Rickey Henderson again in the middle of things.
He walks Dave Henderson,
he's
his
not throwing
4th
the ball.
walk. Right now, Steve has become the first Blue Jay starter in this series to see the 7th inning. In the first 4 games, none of the starters lasted through the 6th. John Sullivan, the bullpen coach.
One of John's grandmother's watching, 93 years old, upstate New York. Sullivan out of the Tiger organization. Kansas City for a while. He's going to be trying to shoot the ball the other way.
The runner goes on the first pitch. McGuire bounces it up the middle. Dave Henderson wheels around second. They have runners at the corners with nobody out.
You can just see the way Tony La Russa operates and watching the movements of the base runner. McGuire going to look for a sinker ball or something off speed, with Steve losing a little bit off the fastball. He was trying to shoot the ball through the right side, and he turned it up the middle. Boy, they've been moving base runners, haven't they? And finding holes, at least the Athletics are today. Henderson finds the ball, so in case if it's a line drive or a pop-up, he can't get decoyed. And Dave Stieb and the Blue Jays are already in trouble, down 2-0, but 1st and 3rd and nobody out.
All series long, the A's have been good, and today they have been, relatively speaking, lucky. Only one of their 3 hits was scorched. Rickey Henderson with the triple up the gap in right center. Canseco kind of muscled his hit with 2 strikes on him in the 1st into center field. And then this one, a bouncing ball up the middle by McGuire. In contrast, the Jays have knocked the ball all over the lot against Dave Stewart and haven't scored. Now here's a solid hit in the left center field. Dave Henderson comes trotting home. McGuire stops at second.
It's probably going to be it.
3-0 A's.
Could be it. I mean, they had an inkling when we showed that shot of Cito when you were talking about him. He already knew. He was on the telephone that Dave Stieb's edge had gone off. And he thought, well, I'll just see if he can get the ground ball double play from McGuire, and Tony La Russa with a little bit of really seeing Stieb losing his stuff started the runner. He wouldn't have done that an inning ago, the way Stieb was crackling the slider and the fastball. He knew that they had Dave Stieb right on the edge of being taken out with his stuff going, and that's why he started Henderson with McGuire up. You get a walk, you say, hey, look, he's losing the stuff. The stuff shows that, and that's study, but also intuitive by La Russa. And he said he's going to throw a strike as he walked the guy, and he started the runner.
Appreciative applause for Steve as he made his exit a moment ago. He called his book, Tomorrow I'll Be Perfect. Seems like you almost have to be perfect to beat these Oakland A's, and now there may be no tomorrow for the Toronto Blue Jays.
You know, Dave Stieb had a series of 4 years where he was a real horse for this ball club. Averaged about 270 innings over those 4 years, average per season. Had 50-some complete games since then, and I think perhaps with the DH and these small ballparks throwing all those hard sliders, I think the pitcher goes around 200 innings a year now, and he's not bunny, at least on the first pitch, with Gruber and McGriff in tight.
Stieb is the only one of the 4 starters used by Toronto in this series who has a winning record. He was 17-8. Flanagan was 8-10. Stottlemyre just 500 at 7-7, and Key, because of a slow start, 13-14. Grounded foul. Even when you considered the Blue Jays' strengths, the power of Bell and McGriff, even had they not been slumping, whatever they can throw up there, the A's can match and overmatch. Jays have power, A's have more. Jays have team speed, A's have Henderson. Jays have the Gold Glove of Fernandez at short. A's have more guys capable of playing excellent defense. Jays have good starting pitching. A's have one guy a 117, two who won 19, and another a 121.
Yeah, well, it's the fourth game pitcher. Might have been the starting pitcher for some teams coming to the League Championship Series play.
Weiss lifts one to right center. McGuire goes back to tag. This could be a close play. Mosby trying to get up ahead of steam for the throw. He's going to try it. They may get him. It's offline, and both runners move up.
Mosby missed the cutoff man. One of those from that situation. McGuire does not run well, but you're better off just dumping her right in the middle infielder's lap at second. Keep the double play in order. McGuire, watch McGuire. He looks at Latchman. Latchman nods the head. Come on over. Test his arm. We've got the lead. What a great shot in that low third base camera. You saw McGuire check with Latch. The affirmative nod. And then Mosby makes the mistake of missing the cutoff man.
So second and third with one out. The infield has to come in. Now if they can get Gallego, you might see an interesting strategic move next. They might very well walk Ricky Henderson with first base open, even though he's a right-handed hitter, and take their chances with two out and the bases loaded against the switch hitter Phillips, considering how hot Ricky has been. But they've got to get to that point first.
And if it did get to that, you might see a left-hander to turn Phillips around to the right side, hold the runners closer, and increase the double play possibility. But that's down the road.
Cito Gaston does have David Wells, a southpaw, throwing.
That's just a play that shouldn't be made. And it's, you know, if you know your strengths, you know your arm. Lloyd knows by this time he doesn't have the strongest arm. You go to second base, keep the double play in order. It's just, these things have bitten the Blue Jays, not just this year in the League Championship Series, but for the last 4 or 5 years, as all the teams and the scouts, the best talent in baseball physically. But they hurt themselves in clutch situations with base running and defensive plays that do not show up in the error column.
Acker sets and pitches 1-1. Here comes the squeeze. Gallego
Perfect.
gets it down.
Perfect.
The A's execute beautifully once again. Acker makes the play unassisted, and they have shown just about everything in their repertoire in these 5 games. You want to play little ball? They just showed they can do it. You want to play long ball? They've out-homered the Jays 7-1, and some of those shots have been memorable. Canseco to the upper deck, for example.
And if they go on to the World Series, the Blue Jays cannot come back. These kinds of plays become more important for the games in the World Series where the DH is not used and your pitcher has to use, and you have to scrap a little more for runs and manufacture them.
Henderson walked, tripled, lined hard to short, scored a run, knocked another one home. As if further evidence was required, but there you see it, and you're looking at the series MVP unless something remarkable happens and the Jays come back and win this one and then can turn the series around in Oakland. Stranger things have happened, but these guys look close to invincible, to be honest. This man's a realist. He knows he's got the second best team in this series, which doesn't mean that an upset isn't possible. It can happen. But if these teams were to play 10 7-game series, Oakland would win 7 or 8 of them.
Well, I think Cito realized, you mentioned earlier on in our telecast, that they're not the second best team in the American League. But again, that's that shift of power to the Western Division. They can throw so many good pitchers at you. Used to be that way a few years ago in the Eastern Division American League.
The 3-1 pitch to Ricky. Wrapped down to third. Gruber backing up. Long throw with Ricky running, and they do get it. Inching closer to a return performance in the World Series. The A's score 2 more. Tony Fernandez glancing up at the scoreboard and the cold arithmetic is that the Jays may be down to their last 3 turns at bat for the season. They trail 4-0 as they come up in the last of the 7th. B.J. Bird was just out on the field going through that OK Blue Jays theme song, trying to get the crowd into it. We're at a point in the game where La Russa would probably have a quick hook with Stewart. He's pitching a shutout, but he has been sharper on many other days. If they get a couple men on, he's gone, I think.
I don't know, with Dave Stewart, his tenacity, he may just want to get a complete game, and he's a guy that might be able to talk a Tony La Russa out of it. I'm not talking if he's in the hole and he get the tying run on or potential winning run in the on-deck circle, but Dave Duncan is monitoring him. He's thrown a lot of strikes.
The 1-1 pitch. Called strike 2.
Defense, not quite a shift in Ernie Wick. Weiss right up the middle, but Ernie, the first hitter, the third baseman was up a little closer in case he tried to lead it off with a bunt. With 2 strikes, he goes a couple steps back. They play Ernie Wick as a strict pull hitter. These are the situations, though, he might go the other way just to defend off that forkball.
Well hit right field, again. Same old story.
Whoa, the lights got Canseco. We're almost dead. They got Ricky Henderson out here the other day.
They have just blistered some balls really against Dave Stewart, and it's just a total frustration here.
It's got to be close to a dozen now. Balls hit right on the nose, right at or near people.
Look at Canseco's expression. Ooh, he says. Gruber. He's hit a couple of darts. A double to left, and then a shot back off Stewart's leg that carried him to Weiss, and he was thrown out.
Got a couple of balloons down in the right field corner. Hold up the ball game. Well, if this score stands up and if it's 4-1 and it's all over with, I think the Blue Jays can look back at this game, how hard they hit the ball, hitting bad luck, hit into very excellent defense, and also the fact that they review the games. Base hit here, base hit there, and it could be turned around the other way. And they had Stewart on the ropes in game 1 in the 2nd inning, sent 7 to the plate. Got 2 runs, stranded 2. It's been a pattern. Blue Jays don't need any excuses made for them because they have struggled off and on offensively a good part of the year, especially the last month. Lee Mazzilli, who went hitless in the DH role and pinch hitting thus far. Oh, there comes the good forkball. And when you look at it, as long as he's had the lead, he's thrown fastballs in the hard split finger. And I think if Stewart had wanted to or had used this forkball more, he might have had more strikeouts. But with the lead, he's going to say, I'm near in a big ballpark. I'm going to stay around the strike zone. No sense getting tricky. That was the true forkball with that kind of action.
His 3rd strikeout. More importantly, he hasn't walked anybody, so he hasn't compounded his problems.
Phillips in at 3rd, and then of a bunt or slug bunt. They were both trying to decoy. They have a defense for this, too, because the scouting reports from Ron Shooter said that Liriano, Lee, Felix, and Fernandez will do that slug bunt. Slide the hand up the bat and then pull the bat back and try to hit it by him.
Pop up left side. Weiss drifts back. In comes Ricky. Makes the catch. Toronto's season may very well be down to 6 outs. Through 7. Stewart throwing a shutout with a little help from his friends. 4-0. Here, the game 1 pitchers came back in the 5th game. In the National League Series, they'll come back in the 4th. Garrelts against Maddox tonight from Candlestick. San Francisco leading 2-1, 8 Eastern time. Dan Morrison says no. Tony Phillips didn't go around. Ball 1 to him as we move to the 8th. Dave Stewart with every reason to smile. He may have clinched the pennant here. At least he might be on his way to it. And it would be the 3rd straight time in as many chances this year that he'd beaten the Blue Jays ace Dave Stieb head-to-head.
I think there's some interesting numbers that Bobby DiBiasio, the PR director for the Cleveland Indians, has been compiling for us about Dave Stewart. I mean, he is hardly throwing enough balls. He's had 6 innings where he hasn't thrown enough balls in that inning to even walk a guy. 1 inning, the third, he threw 5 balls. Everyone else, either 2 or 3 for the entire inning. So he has kept his defense on their toes because they know he's been around the plate. And the defense has responded.
Canseco and Parker to follow Phillips. Don't let that 176 deceive you. If they win it here, he's made his contribution because he sparkled with the glove, especially in the first 2 games in Oakland. And his versatility has been important. They don't have to panic with Carney Lansford out. You know, not many clubs would go on without missing a beat, without a guy who hit 336. They shift Phillips over. Gallego comes in, plays a great second base. Acker strikes Phillips out. There's Lansford. The indication would be he'd have no problem playing in the World Series, which doesn't start until this coming Saturday.
He told me he's better before the ball game. I said, what have you been doing? A lot of ice, and they've got some kind of gadget they put in a sleeve that stimulates the muscles to abet the healing process. And he said, you know, in a certain situation, I could have pinch hit today if needed, where I didn't have to run in a double play situation.
Outside to Canseco. The World Series opens in the American League Park Saturday and Sunday. Games 3, 4, and 5 at either San Francisco or Chicago.
You know, it's got to be scary. Now, Canseco's hit a lot of pitches inside and hit them hard. Can you imagine a pitcher wanting to throw them away with the kind of swing as hard as he hits the ball? Chance of the ball coming right back at you. Slider. You can see after Canseco, and that's what La Russa was saying, that Hammett bone operation he had, the hook on the Hammett bone on the left wrist. When he has a bad swing at a breaking ball or something that fools him, he'll swing at this pitch. It's a little quick slider, and he immediately walked across home plate and started shaking his hand, and he's still not in the batter's box. That hurt. The good swings, it doesn't bother when he's right on the pitch. But those that fool him, and he's got to adjust his swing in progress as hard as he swings. So there's still pain there.
Acker with 2 straight strikeouts, fanning Phillips and Canseco in the top of the 8th. Another check to the football scoreboard. Now this time, trust us, San Francisco really does have the lead now at the Superdome. I guess they had to flip-flop the schedule home and home for these NFC West teams, with the Giants making the playoffs and bumping the 49ers from Candlestick this weekend. The Rams could go to 5-0. The Redskins continuing to have trouble. Phoenix making it tough on them, and that game is at RFK. Parker takes a ball. Dave's 0 for 3. 3 hits in the series in 15 trips, but 2 of them went over the fence.
You look at the defense behind Jim Acker, and you can tell it's a team. I'm not saying it's beaten, but they are just, as you indicated, frustrated, back on their heels. They know they've got a couple more chances, but they know Eckersley's there in case.
Mosby sprinting over. Lloyd's got it. Acker with a very effective 8th. On to the bottom half. 4-0 Oakland. If it ends here, the safest prediction on earth is that you're looking at the unanimous MVP. Eckersley got it last year in the sweep over the Red Sox. Still 2 more chances, though, for Toronto. Stewart to work in the 8th. Liriano shortens up, takes a strike.
Strike after strike after strike by Dave Stewart.
If they can finish it here, the A's would have nearly a week to rest their weary bones after a tough pennant race, just as they were able to conclude the regular season at home the last week and then open the playoffs at home. They'd have a week off, then the World Series would open in Oakland. That's an edge that can't be overlooked. You can look at it another way. You can say that with the time off, they'd go stale or lose their edge, and it's up to Duncan and La Russa to put them through their work habits so they stay sharp. But the time off can be helpful. Squibb down to third. Here's Phillips.
He has hardly thrown any breaking balls. A couple of sliders to Bell that I can recall, maybe some others, but it's been fastball primarily, spotted in and out, and a split-fingered fastball, and now he's going more to a fork ball, taking something off it. And you can believe, you can bet, that if this lead holds up, and look at the fork ball again from Stewart off the end of the bat of Liriano, that Tony La Russa and his coaching staff will be in Candlestick tomorrow. If this holds up, they'll be there scouting the Cubs and the Giants.
A ball high to Mosby. They could catch a charter out of here tonight and be there in plenty of time back in the Bay Area. One and one. When we got to the 7th, we mentioned that if Stewart got in any trouble, La Russa wouldn't wait very long before going to the pen, but he set them down in order in both the 6th and the 7th, and he's gotten the first man here in the 8th.
Well, he hasn't. He's been in trouble, and they've hit balls hard, but he's had a very low pitch total. I mean, Dave Stewart, when he was a thrower, and that's a few years ago only, when he got released for the Phillies and couldn't make it with other teams. He could pitch a ball game, go 150 pitches. I guess he's below 100. I would guess right now. 94 pitches. What he's throwing, didn't strike out him any, no walks, and his defense has kept the base runners to your minimum for him, basically, with all the balls that have been hit that hard. I've had scoring 14 balls that have been hit fairly sharply, Bob. And all those good plays and balls hitting right at the defense of the A's has kept his pitch total down. I mean, he could finish with a flurry. He could get even stronger.
Well hit right field. This one is gone. Mosby spoils the shutout and wakes the Sky Dome up in the 8th.
And Lloyd Mosby now been on base 10 times in the last 4 games with this home run and the single earlier. No question. Lloyd not quite doing what Dave Parker did on his home run.
He knew he jolted one there. It went into the 2nd deck.
It gives him some life, though, doesn't it, as you said?
Mookie. 1-1 to him. Mookie hitless today. 0 for 3. There goes the bat, and look out
right in the
camera well alongside the visitors' dugout. Ooh. The bat's coming back out, and apparently nobody got beamed.
Mookie Wilson way out in front of the split-fingered fastball. It's completely fooled him. Watching a helicopter into the camera well. Didn't appear to hit anybody.
Now the 1-2 pitch. Popped into shallow center. Dave Henderson says, I'll take care of it. And he does.
Dave Stewart has that exceptional control. All you've had to do from our center field camera is watch Steinbach. And Steinbach and Dave Stewart have really work together. So often you only give that pitcher the credit. And Steinbach's kept him right in the game as far as location. Changed speed on occasion, changed speed more in the last few innings. Established the fastball a good part of the ball game. Stewart no longer calls smoke. He still throws hard, but he has become quite a pitcher.
Down low to McGriff on his 101st pitch. Bob Costas and Tony Kubek at the Sky Dome in Toronto. 4-1 Oakland on the verge of the pennant.
Good pitchers have a way, even when they're tired, reaching back and coming up with something extra, and he's come up with not the extra in his fastball, but a better forkball late. If you like pitching and defense, you've got to like what Oakland's done so far tonight.
In there, 2-2.
How about this? 2 balls and a strike. He's behind Freddie McGriff, the slugger, and he throws a forkball and throws it for a strike.
Here's something else about McGriff. In addition to not hitting, he hasn't walked even once in the series. And he walked over 100 times for the year. So he hasn't mixed in the bases on balls that can sometimes redeem a weak batting average.
You know, Bob, he had a streak, I guess, from the middle of August to the middle of September, where for about 40 games, when he was hitting 4th behind George Bell, with not too much protection, he walked like about 40 times in 40 games. They had pitched around him, and then he started taking a lot more pitches.
Here's the payoff. A line drive. Gallegos short hops it and throws him out.
Man,
and so, in the last half of the 8th,
beautiful?
Mosby homers, but it'll take at least 3 more to knock the champagne glasses from Oakland's hands.
Wow.
We were talking earlier about the strengths and weaknesses of each club, matching them up in the various areas. Here's one area where Toronto could hold their own, and maybe, if you just considered the last couple of months, have a slight edge over Oakland, because Henke has been all but untouchable and at least as good as Eckersley off recent performance coming in, but they haven't been able, except in Game 3, to get into a situation to use him, and even then they had a 4-run lead, so they could never use him when they needed him most. Close game, late innings with the lead.
And Tom Henke was saying that he thought the Blue Jays had more bullpen depth. They went with a 9-man staff, and he might have been right. Todd Burns struggling at the end. Honeycutt struggled in the league championship series. When you got a starting, you know, and Matt Young came in and struggled a little bit. When you got the starting pitching staff that's going to get you in the 7th inning almost without fail or more, there isn't a whole lot of need at times for your middle relievers, long relievers. You just end up going right to Eckersley. Dennis Eckersley, not even thrown a pitch in the bullpen to this point. Look out, Tom.
Henke's got it. Nice play. He takes care of Dave Henderson. 1 out. Top of the 9th. Tony, if it ends here for us, for this series and for a while at least, at NBC, what an honor and a pleasure to just be part of the NBC baseball tradition of Harry Coyle, and in recent years, Mike Weissman, our former colleague who loved the game and did such a great job, of Kurt Gowdy and Jim Simpson, and of course Joe Garagiola, who for close to a quarter of a century contributed to it, and the people whose names are not as recognizable. The camera guys, the technicians, who brought more than skill to it, they brought love to it. Every single person who came to the ballpark each Saturday and in the postseason for NBC. The guys like Dave Hagen and Eric Eisenstein and Brian Frainer and Tom Hogan, the cameramen, Lenny Basile, Jimmy Mott, Harry Weissman, Barry Fisher, Vicky Walker, Ken Harvey, and Al Rice. An all-star team of guys whose names are never mentioned, who you might ignore when the credits roll. They were all-stars, every one of them.
Well, like the late commissioner, A. Bartlett Giamatti, they love the game.
For the last 6 or 7 years, Tony, you and I have been assisted in the booth by Steve Horn, who gave us more than stats. He gave us baseball insights and some really perceptive observations. And in this playoff series, Dave Lombardo assisted him. This one goes back to the screen, and McGuire has a chance to go to first. Witt throws, and they still get it. So it's a strikeout with McGriff getting the putout.
In the 9th, the Blue Jays will lead with George Bell, then Fernandez and Witt. They have hit 15 right on the nose of Dave Stewart, many of them bordering on sensational plays by the Oakland A's defense.
And now, Tony,
it has been a gratifying year for the Blue Jays, if it's over. I mean, heck, it's a game that when you think you got to figure it out, something unique and unusual happens. So we are not finishing off the Blue Jays, all they are in dire straits.
even if it does end, tomorrow is the Canadian Thanksgiving Day, and this team can give thanks for what overall has been a successful and historic season for them. They did win the division. They moved into the Sky Dome. They broke the American League attendance record. They're likely to break the Major League record for attendance next year. It's a franchise that is in very capable hands and is likely to enjoy long-term success.
They will go into the season next year as the Eastern Division favorites, I would think. Well, Milwaukee stays healthy, but the Blue Jays have to be the favorites next year, and I'm sure Pat Gillick will make some changes.
Now, wait a minute, Tony. What am I going to do? I watched you play as a kid. I listened to you with Joe Garagiola as an adolescent. I worked with you as an adult. How am I going to face my twilight years without you?
Will you accept my collect phone calls?
Well, wait a minute. Sentiment only goes so far. Didn't I put enough cash in your pockets over the last few years?
I refuse to get maudlin.
1-2. And here's a drive that is not deep enough. Mookie Wilson moving over into left center field, and that'll do it. Last licks coming for Toronto. Bell, Fernandez, and Witt. Stewart's coming back out. They're up on their feet, at least many of them, at the Sky Dome. Dave Stewart going after the complete game. He'll have to work his way through these three. But with a 3-run lead. And Eckersley able to get ready quickly. And Stewart should encounter trouble. Tony Kubek has gone down to the Oakland locker room just in case. This is the end. Stewart threw 8 complete games this year in 36 starts, 14 a year ago. High totals in modern baseball, especially with a bullpen as deep as Oakland's. Bell 1 for 3. Single, fly to center, hit the ball hard in lining to center his last time up. Stewart's pitch inside for a ball. George Bell may in fact be the regular season MVP, but he wasn't able to bust loose, at least to this point in the LCS. High 2-0. Steps out because he's taking all the way, trying to make Stewart work. 2-1. Here's a long drive to left. Bell may have connected. See you later. Four to 2 and 50,024 raising a ruckus. Another look from the top of the dome. Full extension on the sweet spot of the bat. And a bit of vindication for George Bell, who's had a disappointing series. The door opens. Eckersley walks through it. Stewart walks off, and we step aside for a commercial. Dave Stewart being congratulated by his teammates moments ago as he came off. That was Bob Welch he just walked in front of. Yesterday's pitcher for the A's and winner. Now La Russa is upset about something. La Russa and Dave Phillips going at it. Rick Reed, the plate umpire, and Steve Palermo over from first base. Maybe something about the number of warm-up throws Eckersley would be permitted. Cito Gaston getting an explanation from Dan Morrison, the third base umpire. But La Russa exploding with a 3-1 lead in the series and a 4-2 lead in Game 5 in the ninth. My only guess would be the number of warm-up tosses permitted to Eckersley. And Eck continues to get loose here. In the last 2 years in League Championship Series play, Eckersley has made 7 appearances with 6 saves, has not allowed a run, earned or unearned, in 11 1/3. Let's go to Bobby Valentine, who's alongside the field, and maybe he's got an explanation. Bob? We apologize, some technical difficulties, unable to hear Bobby Valentine. In any event, we're ready to go. Fernandez steps in. He's had 6 hits in the series, 1 today, plus a stolen base. A strike from Eckersley. Fernandez taking all away, but as you know, Eckersley virtually never walks anybody. Ernie Whitt, who homered in Game 1, is on deck. Eckersley just waiting as Fernandez takes his own sweet time. The pitch, soft liner center field. Dave Henderson got a bad break, and it falls in front of him. He froze for a minute, did not get his customary fast jump on the ball, and the tying runs coming to the plate. You saw Dave Phillips racing out from his second base umpiring position to signal safe. He clearly short hopped the ball. Tony Fernandez reaction. He's the guy who got the crowd really pumped up with that 2-run double on Friday night. Toronto's lone win to this point in the series. Whitt hit 11 this year in double figures in homers, 7 consecutive years. In there for strike 1. Playing behind Fernandez. Kelly Gruber next. Fernandez runs. Whitt takes inside. No throw. They give him the base. It takes the double play off. It's not an inconsequential steal for Tony Fernandez. If you're looking for any kind of chink in Dennis Eckersley's armor, he did allow 5 home runs in 58 innings of work. The pitch on the outside corner. Now we hope to make contact with Bobby Valentine. Bob?
Yeah, Cito Gaston came out and complained to the umpire, Dave Phillips, the crew chief, and Rick Reed, that Dennis Eckersley had something in his glove or on his hand. They went out and checked him. Tony La Russa came out to the mound to argue very fiercely, and Eckersley's a little rattled right now.
But ahead of Witt, 1 and 2. And a bouncer back over the mound. Here comes Weiss. Witt runs slowly. He throws him out. That's the first out, with Fernandez moving to third. Kelly Gruber, 4 hits yesterday. He stung the ball twice today. Has a second inning double to show for it. 18 regular season homers. Swing and a miss. Oakland all set to celebrate. Toronto making them sweat. For A's fans, this is like standing in Times Square on New Year's Eve, waiting for the ball to come down, and it gets stuck. Out of play down the right side. Eckersley ahead 0-2. Bell started the inning with a homer. Fernandez followed with a single. 1 out later, Gruber at the plate. Junior Felix on deck. Center field, Dave Henderson started in, now goes back. He has it lined up. Fernandez can trot home. It's 4-3. Steinbach moving out in front of the plate, helping to set the defense. Felix hit 9 home runs during the regular year. He's 3 for 10 in the series and 1 for 3 today. If he reaches base, he has good speed. Phillips in close at third. That's ball 1. Eckersley has kind of an elaborate motion. He's somewhat easy to run off of. That's if Felix can get to first with the tying run. Ball 2. In there, strike 1. One strike away. The 2-2 pitch. Full count. He works quickly, and Felix spoils it. Felix steps out. Here it comes once more. Struck him out, and the Oakland A's have a return engagement in the World Series. Their second consecutive American League pennant. Canseco and the 2 Hendersons, and Rickey is the MVP. It was unanimous in the balloting by the media. The real celebration will start when they get back to the Bay Area. Here, just some polite applause from the Toronto fans. Their heroes were down 4-0 when Mosby homered in the 8th, and this guy, George Bell, got them started in the 9th. They were able to get one more to pull to within 4-3, but for Toronto, close not only doesn't count, it hurts. Fittingly, I guess, Stewart is the winner. His second victory of the playoffs. Led them in wins 3 straight years. Took 21 this year. There he is. And just as appropriately, Eckersley saved it. Rickey Henderson scored the game's first run, knocked in the second one. The Oakland A's are the champions of the American League. The celebration just ahead. We'll go to the locker rooms next.
Game 5 of the American League Championship Series is brought to you by your Toyota dealer. Whatever car or truck you choose, you'll love the quality. Who could ask for anything more? By Coors Light, pure brewed in the Rockies. The silver bullet won't slow you down. It's the right beer now. By the U.S. Army, learn how to get an edge on life. Be all you can be. And by MCI, we are the better long-distance company. MCI, let us show you.
Tony Kubek is down in that victorious visitors clubhouse here at the Skydome, and we'll be checking with him very shortly. A year ago, they did it 4 straight over the Boston Red Sox. This year, it took them 5. But even as they celebrate, they're mindful of what happened in the World Series a year ago. We'll be back with the locker room celebration after these messages from your local station. You're looking at the last out. Junior Felix on a 3-2 count. Dennis Eckersley throws it by him. And the jubilant Oakland A's have won their second consecutive American League pennant. For the record, we're calling the show NFL Live Extra because it does come at the end of a football day for some of our viewers, and we will have some football scores for you. But for right now, the subject, appropriately, is baseball. Hi again, everybody. Bob Costas back at the Skydome, where the fans are filing out, their team succumbing in 5 games to the Oakland A's. A bit later, we'll have a report from San Francisco on the upcoming Game 4 of the National League Series between the Cubs and the Giants. We'll check in with Vin Scully and Tom Seaver there. As time permits, we'll also check all of today's football action. But first, let's go down to the locker room of the 2-time American League pennant-winning Oakland A's and join Tony Kubek.
All right, Bob, thank you. The jubilation has just begun as they are still filing in. Let me introduce some very important, exciting people to you. Tony La Russa, the manager, still trying to calm down. This is Dr. Bobby Brown, the president of the American League, and the owner of the Oakland Athletics, Mr. Walter Haas, Jr. Dr. Brown, I'll let you do the honors.
Walter and Tony, this is the Will Harridge Trophy, emblematic of the American League Championship, and it gives me great pleasure in presenting it to you. You had the best record in all of baseball this year. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so proud of this team. They came back from adversity. I'm proud of the manager, the general manager, the whole organization. We got 1 more to go and 1 more champagne party.
Mr. Haas, let me ask you a question. Were there any doubts with all the injuries on this ball club? And I know you may have a special something to say about your manager getting you over all these injuries.
I don't want to say too much about him. We're 2 good friends. I don't want to get a big head.
Dr. Brown, our thanks to you. It was an exciting league championship series. The Blue Jays really were just maybe a few base hits all the way along the way from turning this thing around. They were an awfully good organization.
Blue Jays are a tough team. They just lacked a hit or two to be right back in the whole series. It was, they never gave up. They fought right down to the last out.
Let's get to the manager. Tony, more exciting for you this year than last after all the injuries, and right down to the end, you were kind of fiery.
Well, I got upset there at the end because I thought it was gamesmanship, and you know, they've looked at the ball and neck all year, hadn't had 1 scratch on it. I thought it was gamesmanship. I didn't appreciate that, but I don't know. I've been feeling great all year and feeling great last year, but I think it means so much more to these guys. They have me believing that this was more special. But for me, they were both great challenges. I'm so proud of this club. To come in here and have to win 2 out of 3 in this ballpark against that club shows me a lot about our club.
Dave Stewart threw almost nothing but strikes today, and it looked like he was going to complete a ball game until George Bell and then Tony Fernandez. Oh! No! I think I still got it, but I'm not sure. Tony, will the rest going into the World Series be good for the ball club, or might it hurt them?
Well, Tony, you know, we didn't even dare give ourselves time to think if we could do it. What do we do now? Because we did have the week last year. But we've been talking that maybe there's a couple things we can do different. I'm sure tomorrow morning we'll get together in Oakland and try to figure it out. But, you know, you started to say something about Dave Stewart. And I just think today, for everybody to see, when the occasion is there, he rises up to it like anybody in baseball. And I'm proud of him for getting 2 wins in the series. And you saw the defense we played. That's the way we play. Not many people talk about it. It's a great win for our club. I'm very proud of our organization.
When you when you get good defense like that, combined with good pitching, you've got to think of the advanced scouts, and they were very important for you, especially in this big ballpark.
Well, Tony, you may be the only guy in baseball that would bring that up at a time like this, because you're exactly right. Our defense was positioned. Walter White's made a couple plays up the middle. They should have been base hits. Ron Schuler deserves all the credit in the world. Jeff Scott worked with him. But Shu does a great job. He's as good as anybody, probably the best. Thank you, Shu.
We're going to take a little break so you can go join the rest of the celebrants, and we'll be back. Let's go upstairs to Bob Costas now.
Tony, thanks very much. And indeed, we will return to the Oakland locker room. And if time permits, we'll have a word with Cito Gaston, the Jays manager. We'll also get a report from Candlestick Park. Vin Scully and Tom Seaver are standing by there. It's Gorelson Maddox in Game 4 of that series. We'll do it all when we come back. Back at the Sky Dome, very shortly, we're going to go to Bobby Valentine and get word on just exactly what Cito Gaston was upset about. I believe he thought that Dennis Eckersley had some sandpaper in his glove in the ninth. We'll get a report. But before we do that, out to the West Coast, Vin Scully and Tom Seaver at Candlestick.
Thank you very much, Bob. Well, here in the Bay Area, they think they are one step closer to the Bay World Series.
Well, that's something that happened up there in Toronto today. Congratulations to Tony La Russa and all of the Oakland Athletics. Well deserved. They are a very fine ball club and very well managed and coached. Congratulations to all of them. Set here for another game between the Cubs and the Giants. We've had a lot of runs scored in this series so far, and another gorgeous day. I'm looking around you, Vinny. The flags out there, no movement whatsoever. We've had a lot of runs from both ball clubs. I expect more of the same today.
Any surprises?
The surprise is that the pitching has not been as good as you might expect it to be, especially from the Chicago Cubs side starters.
Well, the home team Giants with a 2-1 advantage. The best road club in the National League, the Chicago Cubs. Once again, push has come to shove. And with that, let's go back to Bob.
Vin, thanks very much, and we'll be listening for you and Tom shortly here on NBC. There was so much going on here, I can't say for sure, Vin, that I heard everything that you and Tom were talking about, so if you mentioned this already, I apologize to you. But the closest opportunity for a Bay Area series prior to this came in 1971, but the A's lost in 3 straight. It was a best 3 of 5 playoff format then. That was the first year they won the West. They lost in 3 straight to Baltimore. The Giants won the West in the National League, but Pittsburgh beat them 3-1 on the way to the World Championship. The unanimous MVP is Rickey Henderson. He's in the A's clubhouse. Again, Tony Kubek.
All right, thank you, Bob. To my far left, Mr. Steve Ramsey of the Chevrolet Motor Division, with just one little token for Rickey Henderson for his performance in this series.
Ricky, on behalf of Chevrolet Motor Division, I'm proud to present this 1989 Most Valuable Player Award to you. In addition, Chevrolet will donate to your charity of choice in your name a new 1990 Chevy Astro van. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Are you going to give that car to Jose?
Yeah!
Ricky, what a series for you. Not just with the legs, stolen base record, but also with the bat against Flanagan.
With the bat, you know, against Flanagan, I knew Flanagan had a tremendous move towards the first base. And in this series, you know, I had stole 6, 7 bases. And I knew Flanagan didn't want to put me on with a walk, so he wanted to come right at me. So I was looking for a location, a great pitch to hit, and I drove it out of the ballpark.
In the parlance of the baseball players, you weren't hot dogging. They said, oh, you were styling. Were you in any way trying to show this Blue Jay team up?
I never try to show any team up. You know, it's just the way I play the game, man. You know, I have some style in the way I go out there and perform. I think if I'm going out there doing an excellent job, you know, I enjoy performing and using my style of play.
He had a big triple in this game today, too, to right center field.
I had a big triple. I think he hung a slide over the middle of the plate, and I just went with it.
Can you hold on there once more? Mr. Ramsey, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Let's get Dr. Brown up here again.
Ricky, hold it up.
Don't slip, Doc. Please don't slip. We don't want you to get you back in the medical profession.
All right. Huh?
Ricky?
You got one more now.
Ricky, Dr. Brown's got one more for you.
Okay. Ricky, this is the Lee McPhail Award for the outstanding player in the League Championship Series. You did everything that anybody could ask of you. Tough on the bat, tough on the bases, just outstanding. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. All right.
Good.
Ricky, you may not be old enough, but Dr. Brown is a Major League ball player, aside from being a former cardiologist. So when he said you did everything, you're hearing it from an ex-third baseman for the Yankees.
All right. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Ricky. Let's go back to Bob Costas.
Okay, Tony, and just as quickly, we're going to check with Bobby Valentine and try and get more information on why the Jays were so upset with Dennis Eckersley and whatever they suspected in the 9th inning. So let's, without further ado, go to Bobby Valentine. Bob?
Thanks, Bob. And I'd like to add my congratulations to a great team, the Oakland A's, no doubt about that. But Cito Gaston, after the game, in his press conference, did indicate that he asked the umpires to go out and check Dennis Eckersley. And while they were watching him and walking out to the mound, he did, in fact, drop something out of his glove. He picked it up. According to Cito, he stuck it into his turtleneck. And at that time, Cito got very angry, at which time Dennis Eckersley said a few things to Cito that Cito didn't appreciate. A little controversy, but not to detract from a great Oakland A's team who just won the American League pennant.
Bobby, if I could ask you a very, very quick question. If you were putting together a scouting report on the Oakland A's, as a successful big league manager, what would your report be? What would be the keys to beating them, and is it even possible? It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it.
Yeah, you really have to do it. You have to pitch him tough. There's no doubt about that. And pitching Ricky Henderson tough is very difficult. He hits it over the fence and he walks and beats you. So you have to throw strikes up in the strike zone to Ricky. You have to bust him off of the plate. And I think a little of that, a little busting off of the plate has to be done against this outstanding lineup to keep them from leaning out and swinging the way they do so well.
Remember how great the Dodgers scouting reports were last year as they upset the A's. But remember, they had Hershiser in an unbelievable groove, and the A's did not have Ricky Henderson. Now they have multiple ways to beat you, as Ricky has added another awesome dimension. We'll be back here at the Sky Dome in Toronto as the postgame show continues after this. Back now in Toronto, all the NFL games today are finals, and I admit to you I haven't been following these games, broadcasting this one here, so I don't have many details to offer, but I can give you the final scores, beginning with San Diego and Denver. And Denver now takes its record to 4-1. They win today by a score of 16-10 over the Chargers at Mile High Stadium. Kansas City and Seattle are each now 2-3. KC wins at the Kingdome 20-16. San Francisco at the Superdome in New Orleans, a winner over the Saints. They trailed and came from behind. They were trailing at one point 17-10, but San Francisco now has won 4 of their first 5, losing only on that late field goal a week ago to the Rams this year. San Francisco drops New Orleans to a very disappointing 1-4. Jim Mora with headaches there, 24-20. The Rams are now the only unbeaten team in the league. They're 5-0. They won at home over Atlanta, 26-14 in Anaheim. The Washington Redskins hosted the Phoenix Cardinals today, and this is now a final. The Redskins win it by the skin of their teeth, and they take their record to 3-2 through 5, 30-28. Games played earlier today. Indianapolis wins big at home over Buffalo, 37-14. Each team now 3-2. Buffalo loses their quarterback Jim Kelly for what is estimated to be 4 weeks with a separated shoulder. The Colts' John Hand hit him as he released a touchdown pass to Andre Reed, and that ended the day and maybe ended action for the next month or so for Jim Kelly as he went out in the Colts' victory over the Bills. Miami wins at home against Cleveland. How do you figure the Dolphins? They play atrociously, then they bounce back and play pretty well, and they held Bernie Kosar in check today apparently and won in overtime 13-10. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the New York Giants. The Giants dropped from the ranks of the undefeated. The Giants led 13-0, but the Eagles come from behind with Randall Cunningham directing the comeback, and they win 21-19, and the Eagles are now 3-2. New England gets a victory at home over Houston. Generally, the Oilers do not play well away from home outside the House of Pain, and New England, after an atrocious performance a week ago at Buffalo, wins today 23-13. Both clubs are 2-3. A wild one at Tampa Bay, and the Chicago Bears finally take it on the chin. They're 4-1 now. These Buccaneers are better than some people would have thought. Vinny Testaverde with a big day. They win 42-35, and remember, they were barely caught at the wire recently by San Francisco. Otherwise, Tampa Bay could have a record of 4-1 as it is. They're 3-2 through 5 weeks. Cincinnati beat the improving Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. The Steelers had lost their first 2 games in embarrassing fashion, bounced back to win the next 2. But today they lose 26-16. The Bengals got a touchdown very late. It was a close game, a 3-point affair until the waning moments. Bengals win 26-16. Minnesota over Detroit, and the Lions are now 0-5. The Vikings take their record to 3-2, 24-17 the final at the Metrodome. And the last score, Dallas goes to 0-5 on NFL Live a week ago. Bobby Beathard said, well, they might not win a game all season long. That might have seemed harsh, but they're almost a third of the way there at 0-5. Green Bay is surprising 3-2. The Pack wins 31-13. Well, there's my man, O.J. Simpson, in the studios in New York, working overtime as we come up near 8 o'clock. Your observations on today's games?
Well, I guess the big story in the NFL this year is that quarterbacks are going down with more frequency than DC-10s. Today, we lost 3 more quarterbacks. Jim Kelly went down with a separated shoulder. It appears that he's going to be out at least 4 to 6 weeks. Buddy Brister had a sprained left knee, and of course, Vinny Testaverde in engineering his upset victory over Chicago, he went down with a bruised knee. Testaverde had 3 touchdown passes in that game, but it really wasn't a close football game at all. It was controlled, believe it or not, by Tampa Bay's defense, despite the fact that they gave up 35 points. They controlled the ball in the first half of the game. The game never was that close.
All right, Juice, I'll look forward to seeing you next week in the studio back in New York. When we come back now, the Albert Achievement Awards for 1989, looking back over this baseball season, and a final word from the Kingdom. Just ahead, the Giants and Cubs, so stay with us. Park, they're moments away from the first pitch. The Cubs and the Giants in Game 4, Maddox against Garrelts. We are back now at the Sky Dome in Toronto. I only missed by about 90% of a continent here. We're not in Seattle, we're at the Sky Dome. Earlier today, Marv Albert recorded these Albert Achievement Awards.
Thanks, Bob. My crack staff, with little to do between the end of the last arena football season and major indoor soccer, took time out to assemble the wild and the wacky from this 1989 baseball season, what we call the Albert Achievement Awards.
And we open with embarrassing moments. In Atlanta, Tommy Gregg of the Braves takes call, strike 3, from plate umpire Bob Engel. One problem, it was only strike 2, but Engel was able to laugh it off. Here's Willie Randolph of the Dodgers heading home, but he forgot to touch home plate, and then Willie makes the quick recovery. Off this drive, Claudell Washington of the Angels with the throw home. Perfect throw, but nobody's there. Claudell, that was out number 3. Chris Sabo of the Reds eventually flied out and did it with his fly down. We've had our share of pitching problems. Mike Maddox of the Phils tried to avoid a balk and went to great lengths to do so. Mark Langston, a very expressive kind of guy, having fun with himself. And Detroit rookie Randy Nossick with a unique delivery, one that kind of got away. Foul ball supplied some adventurous moments. Ken Caminiti of Houston with the all-out effort for the foul pop, which did elude him, but a nice try. His teammate Billy Hatcher with the drive down the line. It is right on target into the ball bag. And yes, September in St. Louis providing lots of room to run for the souvenir foul ball, if you can find it. Managers in the spotlight. Tom Kelly of the Twins putting the hex on the Yankees' Roberto Kelly, and it worked on this pitch. Don Zimmer of the Cubs and umpire Jerry Crawford having a delightful time going nose to nose. And the Orioles' Frank Robinson, not pleased about a call, got the thumb and then shared his opinion with umpire Rich Garcia. To the unusual, following this base hit by Jim Rice, Jim with a rather friendly greeting for first baseman George Brett. Steve Lyons of the White Sox, with some spare time, plays tic-tac-toe at first base and puts a couple of X's in for a tainted victory. And Biff Roberts of the Padres, chasing this base hit, was startled to see another ball drop down. Biff did come up with the right baseball. And how about these hitting hijinks? Mike Gallego of Oakland with a shot to right, fair ball, but the ball boy picks it up, and then he realizes his mistake and attempts to nonchalant it. Mets pitcher Randy Myers goes down swinging. He is not happy about it, but his teammates think it is hilarious. And Bo Jackson, not pleased about a strikeout, takes it out on his bat. The hardest hits of the season. Ken Griffey Jr. of Seattle with the drive, and it skips off the head of Roberto Kelly. And it happened again that week to Kelly, who took another one off his head. Afterwards, Roberto needed some special attention from trainer Gene Monahan. The best.
All right, our thanks to Marv Albert, and my personal thanks for the last 7 years to Tony Kubek. He made it easy. He made it fun. 24 years with NBC broadcasting baseball. Immediately after he retired from the Yankees in 1965, helping them to all those pennants, right into the broadcast booth. He became an institution in American baseball broadcasting, and we're all going to miss him. Vin Scully and Tom Seaver will take you the rest of the way in the National League Series, and then a week or so down the road, our very best wishes to our buddies and colleagues at ABC, Al Michaels, Tim McCarver, and Jim Palmer for the World Series. A World Series that for the second year in a row will feature Tony La Russa's Oakland A's, back-to-back winners of the American League pennant. Congratulations to both the Blue Jays and the A's for outstanding seasons. And from the Sky Dome in Toronto, for now at least, so long.